Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly with you on your Tuesday morning, broadcasting live from the Busy Beat Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Hope everyone out there had a great Memorial Day weekend. It was fun, although it won't stop raining in Middle Tennessee. It continues today, but hope everybody had a great time. Dr. Crane, what'd you get up to?
Not a whole lot. Just kind of recover, and just remember. That was about it.
Right.
So,
right.
The rain has not stopped, and I'm going a little bit of a soapbox if you're right with
Yeah,
this.
go ahead.
Can we clean the drains on the side of the road so we don't have any flooding on the streets?
Yeah.
It's on my last nerve at this point. We don't need a 18-inch tire in the middle of a road or in the little small drain pipe. We don't need 2x4s in a drain pipe. I'm sorry. It's the most infuriating thing ever. Every time it rains, I always look at that as I'm driving by. I'm like, this will never get fixed.
There's so much that needs to be fixed in terms of the roads around here. I mean, the potholes are horrible, and the rain this week has not helped. So, yeah. It's basically been raining for like 5 days straight, on and off.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's nice when you're sitting under a tin roof and you listen to the rainfall. That's great. But after a while, when you try to get out and about, it's not fun.
I know. Yeah. Saturday I went out and golfed, and it was the first 6 holes. We were considering just banging it and going home, but we stuck it out. Got a little bit wet, but it was fine. I did go see Chris Stapleton on Saturday.
How was that?
It was a good show. He is, for anyone who's seen him before, he is a very different performer than a lot of other country stars, any kind of band or performer. He just stands up there and sings his songs. Doesn't talk to the crowd. There's no pyrotechnics or anything flashy. He stands up there. He sings his songs 1 through 20, and the show's over. And, different, very different, but he is insanely talented. I mean, the live, it sounded better than the studio recordings. He is that good, but it was funny. It's just like he stands up there with the guitar, sings his songs, and that's it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Listening to some of his stuff on like Spotify, I have like the Spotify acoustic versions of songs. Phenomenal. You're right. Phenomenal.
He is one of the most talented artists that I think I've seen in person, but it was just funny. It's like, you're like waiting for some of the theatrics to come with it. Cause that's what most like these big stadium shows, especially, it's like there's pyrotechnics, there's dancers, like he's moving around the stage. No, he stood in the same spot the whole time. He sang his songs, and that was it. But it was fantastic. Hey, Lainey Wilson came on before him. She was good too. So good show.
That.
It was fun.
That.
Parker, how was your weekend?
It was eventful. Went car shopping.
Okay.
And for the first time yesterday, I'm kind of embarrassed to admit this on the air, but I watched Devil Wears Prada.
Okay.
Phenomenal.
I've seen it. It's a good movie.
I will be seeing the sequel soon.
When does that come out? I know
it is already out.
Oh, it's all okay. It is already out. I have seen
and
the
Frazier's
original.
giving me a look. Have you never seen Devil Wears Prada?
Is it about clothing?
Yeah, it's like
Anne Hathaway,
Meryl Streep.
Yeah,
no, not ringing a bell.
I can't remember when I saw it, but I have seen it before. It was fine. Like, it was solid.
So it's a movie that came out a couple years ago?
A long time
ago. Came out like 2006.
Yeah, like 20 years ago. And they just came out with the sequel.
Yeah. So I will be getting caught up on that.
Okay.
It was pretty good.
There you go.
I recommend if you haven't seen it yet. Have you seen it, Jake?
I have seen it.
Yeah.
You know what I've gotten into this past week?
What's that?
The show Nashville. I started watching it, and it's
back.
Oh, it is horrible. But I've watched a few episodes, and I'm like, it's like moderately entertaining just to see like the different places they go around Nashville. But it's gone full soap opera, and I don't know if I can make it through the whole first season. But I saw it on Netflix, and I was like, you know what? I kind of just want to look back like 15 years in a time capsule and see what Nashville used to look like and all that. And it's fine.
Behind the scenes of that, by the way, my dad actually supplied the flooring for that.
Really?
Set, so
really,
FYI.
My favorite part is they're like the artists are on a tour, and every show is in Bridgestone Arena, and it's so funny. Like, obviously, I know that they can't go rent out different arenas around the country, but it's so funny. Like they'll go on stage like, "Thank you, San Diego," and then they pan to the crowd, and I see Vanderbilt Health ads in the background. I'm like, all right, well, this is all just in Bridgestone.
I mean, what's worse, Nashville 911 or Nashville itself?
Nashville 911. Yeah. That one's way worse. Like Nashville, at least it's like the production quality is solid,
right?
But yeah, Nashville 911 is, you watch it just to laugh.
Yeah, the kid that got stuck with the kite flying in the middle of Centennial
Yeah,
Park. That was pretty
yeah,
funny.
Jake showed me that scene.
The CGI on that was hilarious.
Very realistic.
Anyway, let's talk some sports here. Parker, we'll start with you. It was a solid weekend for your Volunteers. The Lady Vols moving on to the Women's College World Series. They'll play against Texas on Thursday afternoon out in Oklahoma City. And Vols baseball is back in the tournament in what I will call the regional of death. I think that is the toughest regional there is. UNC, ECU, VCU out in Chapel Hill. So that one should be fun too.
Well, I'll take going to Chapel Hill over Atlanta right now because every projection I saw had Tennessee going to Georgia Tech. It's going to be tough, but it's not out of the realm of possibility that the Vols might be able to get out of the regional. I'm not predicting it to happen, but for the Lady Vols, the way Texas played against Arizona State this weekend, kind of gives me hope. So let's hope Carlin Pickens is on her best.
And no Oklahoma in the Women's College World Series
for the first time in what, my lifetime?
I think
our
9
lifetime?
years. Yeah, 9 years. And I believe they got shut out in the final game of the Super Regional for the first time in like 400 games. Yeah, I think it was 399. So that would have been their 400th straight game scoring a run, and they did not against Mississippi State.
Such a beautiful sight to see. I mean, look, Oklahoma was a wagon. Let's not be, let's not overlook that, because every single ball that was thrown to them normally would be a home run. Remember, they had that first baseman that would just hit home runs for days. But Mississippi State, really good job on the mound.
Yeah, no, they were up 4-0, and I saw the 2-run home run. I was like, man, that might actually do it. And it did. Mississippi State moving on. They'll face Texas Tech to lead off the Women's College World Series in Oklahoma City. So should be a fun weekend. 5 SEC teams in the Women's College World Series. And honestly, could have been more because Florida lost to Texas Tech in Game 3. I know Oklahoma and Mississippi State played each other, but the SEC, they dominate the diamond sports. They do, pretty much exclusively.
12 teams in the baseball field?
Yeah, that sounds right. No LSU, no Vanderbilt, no Dallas Baptist. All of them had 10-plus year postseason streaks. None of them made it. Kentucky did get in despite having a losing record in the SEC, but their RPI carried them in. Mentioned that Chapel Hill Regional. It'll be Tennessee against ECU to start off that one. UNC and VCU on the other side of the bracket. So should be fun. I always love the college baseball tournament. I think regional weekend, there's always some chaos, right? And last year, of course, it wasn't fun chaos for us here in Middle Tennessee with Vanderbilt being the number 1 overall seed. Louisville ended up winning that regional, but there's always fun there. And we'll see. Can the SEC make it 8 straight years, 8 straight champions?
Believe so.
2018 was the last time. I know there was no tournament in 2020. 2018 was the last time there was a non-SEC champion. So going to be fun. And we'll see if Tennessee can get out of that regional. They're matched up with the College Station regional. So Texas A&M, USC is also in that bracket. So there is a path for Tennessee to get back to Omaha. Obviously not quite as easy as it has been when they've been hosting in Knoxville the last few years.
Yeah, obviously the Bat Vols or whatever they used to be called. Parker, I'm not too sure what that nickname is.
Baseballs. You're thinking of the Bat Cats.
Sorry.
That's Kentucky.
Yeah, too many different nicknames in my brain. But yeah, you're right, Jake. That diamond has been suited for them to really take flourish of bringing in runs. I don't know if that's going to happen this year.
Yeah, and we will see. I'm excited this weekend. This weekend's always fun because you do have Women's College World Series and regional weekend at the same time. So going to be a lot of baseball, a lot of softball to watch over the next week. 615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to text or call. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We had a loaded show for you today. Josh Corey, the Titans Vice President of Cause Marketing, is going to join us at 9:30. We'll talk about their youth football camps and also girls flag football, which is sponsored by the TSSAA, could end up being an NCAA championship sport in the next few years. So excited to talk with Josh Corey about that at the bottom of the hour. Trey Wallace from Outkick will also join us at 11:30 live from SEC meetings in Destin. We will talk about Greg Sankey's comments yesterday, especially about the college football playoff. Lots to get into there. We'll also talk plenty of Titans throughout the show as well. 615-737-1025. Coming up next, big weekend in the Stanley Cup playoffs and the NBA playoffs. The Knicks going back to the finals for the first time since 1999 And what is wrong with the Avalanche? The President's Cup curse is striking once again. We'll get into all of that coming up next. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly. We are off and running on this Tuesday morning. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly spinning it back there. The Knicks back in the NBA Finals for the first time since 1999. And the Knicks they're making me start to doubt my prediction that the winner of the West is taking home the championship in the NBA, because I mean they haven't lost a game since the first round of the NFL draft.
What a beautiful sight to see.
They lost games 2 and 3 to Atlanta in the opening round by 1 point each, and they have won 13 straight games since then.
Yeah, but you look at that team and you need like certain role players. Like one night it was Josh Hart. One night it was Jalen Brunson. The other night, Karl Anthony Towns.
Right.
Last night, I believe it was the 3-point specialist, Shamit.
Yeah, Landry Shamet. Yeah.
The guy that barely made the roster this season, and now he's being an integral part of that roster and playing well. So this is a team that, didn't need a gentleman's sweep. They just swept Cleveland right off the bat.
Yes, I did my math wrong. 11 straight wins for the Knicks since their 2 losses to the Hawks. But either way, ridiculously impressive. The Knicks have roared all the way to the NBA Finals. They got plenty of talent. I mean, you mentioned Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns. They got Josh Hart. They got Mikal Bridges. Like, that is a really good team. I still don't know if they're as good as the Spurs or the Thunder, but it does help them that they're probably a little fresher. Back-to-back sweeps, Sixers and the Cavaliers now. And the Spurs and Thunder, I think that series is going 7, right? Like 100%. The way they're playing right now, you got a huge game 5 tonight back in Oklahoma City. So there's a chance that somebody's able to win the next 2, but the way that series is gone, I think it's going 7. So the Knicks are going to have the rest advantage no matter what happens heading into the NBA Finals. Can New York get it done? I mean, I did not see this coming heading into the playoffs. I know they had started to play well down the stretch, but honestly, the Celtics getting upset by the Sixers in the opening round kind of opened up the East. Everybody kind of thought with Jason Tatum back healthy that the Celtics were going to be the team to beat in that conference. Knicks have rolled all the way through, and we will have to see who they end up facing. Spurs and Thunder, the game back on Sunday night, Wemby taking over again, half-court shot. I'm loving it.
That was crazy. I mean, everybody keeps forgetting about De'Aaron Fox. Like, I know the first, 2 games of the series, he was out, not playing. Now that he's back, it's no longer we double teaming Victor Wembanyama. We also got to worry about De'Aaron Fox, not only shooting the ball, but passing the ball in the low post. That's something that obviously San Antonio does well. And I was mentioning to somebody the other day, I don't know if it was in the press box or someone here, but it looks like San Antonio is playing like the old Greg Popovich way. And that's just abusing the low post. And when they have the opportunity, just dish it out wide and take a shot.
I will say it's weird because I hadn't watched a whole lot of Spurs basketball until this playoff run. Like, just regular season NBA. I'm not flipping on the Spurs all the time.
Right.
But it was kind of strange just to not see Greg Popovich on the sideline. Like, I know it's like he hasn't been there a little bit here, but I just like when they pan over to the sideline and it's not Pop standing up there, it feels a little bit strange. But
yeah, there have been like videos online of like San Antonio Spurs basketball or whatever it is. There have been media that have taken video of their practices, and Popovich is still talking to players. Obviously, he had that, I believe it was a stroke.
Right.
And it just never really was able to get back to his full health, but he's still in a roundabout way an ambassador to the program.
Yeah. I mean, he's one of those guys that's always going to be they're never going to close their doors to Greg Popovich with what he's been able to do for that franchise. So that's going to be fun tonight. Game 5 in OKC. SGA, Victor Wembanyama. I mean, they're the 2 best players in the NBA right now. Nikola Jokic deserves to be in the conversation too, but I am excited for the end of this series. It's now best of 3 between the Spurs and the Thunder, and I'm getting more excited for the NBA Finals. I said before these conference finals began that I thought that the finals are going to be gentlemen's sweep. Winner of the West takes it. The Knicks are changing my mind with the way they've been playing lately. They don't look like they're going to just fold over for the Spurs or the Thunder in the NBA Finals.
I saw a funny video of Spike Lee talking to, I think, on a podcast or to one of the media members, and he goes, you hope the New York Knicks win this finals if they go to the finals and win it all. Hopefully it's on the road, because you say New York's going to go crazy.
Yeah.
To be fair, if the New York Knicks win the NBA Finals, I believe every New York fan, if it's the Rangers, the Islanders, the Jets, the Giants, any of the other sports, forget about it. The Knicks won a championship. They can just sit back, relax, and enjoy life.
Let's take the show to New York to celebrate.
Yeah.
The Big Apple.
I mean, you're the only Knicks fan in the room, but hey, I'm a Knicks fan right now. Shoot, this is awesome.
We can go and grease the light poles for the NYPD.
Let's do that.
I mean, they're calling in the Avengers to stop.
Did you see the NYPD presence outside the arena last night? Crazy. And that was for a road game, right? Like, I mean, we'll see how that all works out. But the Knicks are back in the NBA Finals for the first time since 1999. You mentioned, throw away all the other teams. Just quick question. In New York, who do you think is the biggest team across all sports? Like, what championship would mean the most to that city?
The Knicks.
You think it's the Knicks?
I think it's the Knicks.
I might agree with you actually, because I do think the Yankees are that city's team. Like, I think the Yankees mean more to New York, but they got 27 of them, right? Like, I do wonder if a Knicks championship means more to that city.
Yeah, when you look at baseball and you see the New York Yankees and the New York Mets, it's almost like the city is somewhat divided, where those two teams are actually competing. Well, not maybe this year for the Mets, but in years past, both teams have really been competing.
That's true. Yeah.
For a playoff
I think
spot
there's
in
a
the World
larger
Series.
split.
Yeah, you look at the NBA and you see the Brooklyn Nets / New Jersey Nets that are just somewhat of a participation trophy. Then you look at the Knicks that are actually competing for a championship.
So. Yeah, and I do think there are Nets fans out there, but I would say when you look at the split between the two teams in New York across all sports, like I think Jets Giants relatively close, Yankees Mets probably more Yankees, but I would say closer. I do think Nets Knicks is like the largest disparity of most people in New York. I think are Knicks fans.
Yeah, I would definitely agree to that.
4312 says it will always be the Yankees. And I do think the Yankees are the team that matters most to New York, but in terms of a championship, and that's Knicks fans have been deprived of a championship for a long time. Like, I do think that that one might mean more. So going to be cool to see NBA Finals games in Madison Square Garden in a couple of weeks, or next week, I guess, whenever the Western Conference Finals wraps up. On the other side, in the Stanley Cup playoffs, the Colorado Avalanche, the President's Trophy curse. Thank you, Jeff, for correcting me. President's Cup is, an international golf competition, as Jeff says. Yes. President's Trophy. I said both of them and went to the wrong side. President's Trophy curse continues as Colorado down 3-0 to Vegas. I did not see this coming. Colorado had been the best team in hockey all year long. They've gotten the injury bug at the wrong time. Cale Makar misses the first two games and definitely was not his usual self in game 3 in Vegas. And of course, Nathan McKinnon gets banged up in game 3 back on Sunday night. Now you've got to turn around and try and avoid a sweep tonight, not knowing if either of those guys are going to be 100%. It's tough. It's tough for Colorado, a team that I thought was earmarked for the Stanley Cup final. Now backs against the wall against this new look Vegas team.
Yeah, looking at the way they play, though, it just normally when Colorado gets out to a lead early, they're able to kind of maintain that. We've seen both of those things happen where they've been trailing in the game and also have had a 3-0 lead.
Right, 3-0 lead.
And it's evaporated into thin air. So you wonder, how on God's green earth can this team be this bad? And again, bad juju. Don't give me that President's Trophy. I don't want it. I don't want to touch it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to be in the same room as it. Get me 100 million feet away from it. I don't care.
It's so funny, just the way the Stanley Cup playoffs work. You just never know. At the end of the regular season, we were saying, man, look at the Central Division and how loaded it is. And it's unfair that the Wild and Stars have to play in the first round and the Avalanche have to play the second best team in the West in round 2. And maybe that has something to do with it, that they've had to play tough teams early on. And we were looking at the Pacific and saying, oh, look at how horrible that division is. I can't believe Vegas won the Pacific. And now the Golden Knights have just found their groove. They make the decision to fire Bruce Cassidy and they bring in John Tortorella and they've turned things around. And, the Vegas Golden Knights, I would say that they've become the villain of the NHL, right? Just the way they carry themselves, the fan base, the abuse of the long-term IR that they do every single year. Like the Golden Knights, even only being in a team for 9 years now, they've turned into a villain. And them doing this again and possibly going back to a third Stanley Cup final and a chance to win a second cup already, it's impressive, even if you don't like them. You have to respect it.
Yeah, I think that's what really bothers a lot of hockey fans is that they had so much success at the very beginning of their franchises, beginnings in the NHL with the expansion draft and into the Stanley Cup final. That I think is what really grinds the gears of a lot of hockey fans around the league.
Yeah. I mean, that I remember that. I mean, that was the Caps and Barry Trotz back in 2018 that beat the Golden Knights in their first year as an organization. They went to the Stanley Cup Finals, ended up winning it a few years ago, and now they are one game away from going back to the Stanley Cup Finals. And Carolina getting back out in front 2-1. They dominated that game yesterday. Outshot Montreal by 25 by the end of that game. But I mean, honestly, if it weren't for the disallowed goal, Canadiens might have taken that one in regulation. Instead, it goes to overtime, and the Hurricanes end up winning it about 10 or 15 minutes into OT. So it's been a fun series between the Canadiens and the Hurricanes. I do think Carolina has started to find its groove. They've maybe gotten that monkey off their back of you can't win in the conference finals. They've now got 2 games in a row. I do think Carolina is going to get it done, and it's going to be fun. Vegas and Carolina looks to be the collision course that we're on now, and I think that's going to be a really good series.
Yeah, and looking at Montreal, the way they've played in this series so far, I just coming off that 7-game series against Buffalo, you really thought that they could just carry that momentum to help them into this series. I feel like it has, but again, there's that wear and tear that's starting to catch up with them a little bit.
Yeah. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'd love to hear from you. Our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We can get back into the NBA playoffs and Stanley Cup playoffs later on. We're going to talk plenty of Titans in hour number 2. But coming up next, Josh Corey, the Titans Vice President of Cause Marketing, is going to join us. I'm excited for this, talking about girls flag football, the growth of that sport, Titans youth football camp starting. So we'll talk with Josh coming up in the next segment. Again, 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Today, the Nashville Sounds take on the Gwinnett Stripers at First Horizon Park, and first pitch is at 6:35. You can catch all of the action on 94.9 The Fan, presented by Twin Peaks Family Leisure and Social Cantina. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly, next man up here on 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly with you. We now go to our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and we are joined by Josh Corey, the Tennessee Titans Vice President of Cause Marketing. Josh, thanks so much for taking some time. Excited to have you on.
Hey, thanks for having me this morning. It's great to be here.
Well, Josh, we are excited about the growth of girls flag football with the TSSAA, and I know that you and your group have had a lot to do with that. What's been the reaction? How rewarding has it been for you to see the growth of that sport at the high school level since you guys began your initiative back in 2021?
Yeah, it's been incredible, the amount of growth and the speed at which it has grown. It has exceeded all of our expectations and has really been an awesome thing to watch, come to kind of this full circle moment in a couple weeks ago when they crowned the first official state champions in Tennessee.
Right. That's unbelievable to see how far it's come. I know we saw it's 200 schools and 4,000 athletes across the state. It's just grown so much. And I saw last week as well that it looks like the NCAA is looking to adopt girls flag football, women's flag football as a championship sport. How do you see this sport continuing to grow, not just at the high school level, but into the college level and hopefully beyond?
Yeah, so that's the exciting part. We were able to help Metro Nashville schools this year pull together their middle school league. They had 31 middle schools that started playing, so at that younger level, and then also bridge up to the collegiate opportunities. We had a student from Hillsborough High School who spoke at the Super Bowl announcement press conference. She was a 3-year starter with Hillsborough, and to see her in front of all of those, some of the most important people in our state that make things happen. She's got 12 scholarship offers to college.
Wow.
And so that was one of the things that we were hoping by kind of growing this at the high school level, it will create pathways and opportunities for young women in our state to further their education and also play football at the collegiate level.
Josh Corey's on the line with this. Josh, when it comes to the youth football camps in the area, 1 of 7 starting at Liberty Creek High School, just how refreshing does that sound when you can hear there is more flag football being incorporated for the female aspect of it all?
Yeah, it's great to see, our youth football camps are kind of the unofficial start of the summer, and can't wait to get back out there tomorrow morning at Liberty Creek High School. We'll be at Battleground Academy on Friday. And, those camps are designed for boys and girls, to give them the opportunity to either be introduced to the game or kids that have already been playing. These camps are for all skill levels and very excited to kick off our first of 7 tomorrow morning.
And then when it comes to the female side of it all, there'll be the first ever girls flag specific camp June 18th at Green Hills High School. That's one of those high schools that's very historic to the city of Nashville. But seeing the female game grow and to have a lot of participants in that specific camp, it's a nice thing to see growing in the Nashville area as well.
Yeah, we wanted to try something just a little bit different, and we've hosted camps for years. We've never had the opportunity to have a girls-only camp that's related to flag. So thought we'd do something a little unique and different and try that out at Green Hill High School. That'll be on June 18th. And so we're excited to add that to our camp series this summer. And the response has been good. Green Hill High School is a great host. They have one of the early, really strong girls flag programs at that high school. And so it was kind of a no-brainer for us. And, of course, all of our camps are open to boys and girls, but this one specifically just kind of focuses on maybe introducing the game of flag football to girls.
Josh, earlier when you were speaking about Madison, speaking at the Super Bowl announcement press conference and hearing that she has 12 offers for flag football at the college level, how much has the college level of flag football evolved since the 2021 launch for you guys?
Yeah, it's been incredible. Had an opportunity to meet with some of the college coaches in this region. Primarily it's at the NAIA level now. But as you mentioned before, the NCAA is fast tracking it to hopefully become a sanctioned championship sport by 2028, in alignment with the Olympics in LA in 2028. So we feel very confident that in a couple years we will have Division I programs at Vanderbilt and Tennessee and Alabama and some of these huge Power 4 schools, all the way down to the Division II, Division III. So got an opportunity to go out to Cumberland University in Lebanon the other day and meet with their AD and head flag coach and listen to how they're continuing to build their program and grow it. And so really excited about the opportunities that presents for the kids in our state.
We're talking with Josh Corey, the Titans Vice President of Cause Marketing here on Next Man Up. Josh, just with all of this outreach that you guys are doing into youth football, youth flag football, why is it so important for the Titans to build up this connection with the youth and the kids that are coming up and hopefully will grow up to be the future of this sport down the road?
Yeah, this is a great opportunity for us to continue to grow and develop the game that we all love. Excuse me. And, it's as the NFL team in Tennessee, that is something that we are very passionate about, but it also allows us to engage and connect with younger fans and bring them into the game of football. And so, this is just a great vehicle to be able to do that. And we're just excited to continue to grow our outreach and engagement efforts with younger fans in our state.
Josh, you mentioned the first of 7 youth football camps kicks off tomorrow at Liberty Creek High School. If anyone out there listening wants to register, where can they go and what can they expect if they come out to one of the camps?
Yeah, it's a great camp. I'm a little biased, but we really do put on a really good camp. It's a 4-hour, 1-day camp, ages 7 to 14. You can register by going to TennesseeTitans.com/youth football camps. Registration is still open for all of our camps, including tomorrow's. We'll have T-Rack out there, so every kid gets a picture with T-Rack, the chance to learn from either high school coaches or we'll have some college coaches there as well, Titans legends. Everybody gets a T-shirt, a gift bag, and each registration gets a free ticket to our game against the Jacksonville Jaguars at the farewell season of the current Nissan Stadium before we move into the new stadium next year.
Josh, it sounds great. I would encourage anyone out there who has a young kid wanting to get into football, head out to the youth football camps. Josh, we really appreciate your time, and thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks, Jake. Appreciate you guys.
Josh Corey, the Vice President of Cause Marketing for the Titans, joining us. Really cool stuff with what they're doing. Not just the youth camps over the summer, but, driving girls flag football forward. I mean, it's a growing sport. We've seen it at the high school level. And I did see the headline that the NCAA is trying to make it a championship sport here in the next couple of years. It's something that's only going to go up from here.
Yeah, it definitely helps when you have the Olympics, introducing flag football. Like he said, fast tracking that to help with, female flag football. That is, it's crazy to see the evolution of football, not only from, pads on the field, but just flag football in general. Like in high school, I know they had like club powder puff football. Yeah. I was a coach for one of those teams.
There you go.
It's cool to, kind of give back to the community and also just get it more, on the fast track, like he mentioned. It's just a beautiful sight to see. Really cool stuff. And again, they had the first ever TSSAA state championship back about a week and a half ago. Ravenwood and Creekwood bringing home the titles. So been cool to see the growth, and we'll continue to see it, I'm sure, over the next few years here in Tennessee and nationwide. 615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to text or call. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We got lots to get into with the Titans. Also, college football.
2014 playoff is still on the table, and Greg Sankey didn't exactly seem convinced that it was going to stay at 12. We'll get into that later on in the show as well. 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly, next man up. 1025 The Game. Next man up, 1025 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly with you. Big thanks to Josh Corey, the Titans Vice President of Cause Marketing, for joining us in the last segment, talking about the Titans' work with the youth camps in the area and also their work with the girls flag football and the growth of that game, which has been really cool over the past few years. Quickly, we're going to get deeper into some Cam Ward stuff. I know you and Connor talked over the weekend about Cam Ward possibly running more. We'll get into that in hour number 2. But I did want to go on like a quick, not a rant here, but just something that annoyed me over the weekend that I saw that has to do with the Titans. This is the second time this has happened. I know other people have talked about this too, of this guy, Route God, who went on TikTok and criticized a like 10-second clip of a Titans wide receiver drill of Carnell Tate. It was like, doing a little stop, and then a speed cut out or something like that. And he basically said that that's a horrible drill. And, these wide receiver coaches know more X's and O's than I do, but they don't know about movement and how to get guys running the best routes. And this is the second time it's happened this month. Earlier this month, there was a special teams drill where they basically like threw all of the equipment on the field and had Tyron Montgomery was like running through hoops and picking stuff up. I don't know. Can people stop taking these little clips from social media and acting like they know more than the coaches who are putting these drills together? Like, I'm not saying every drill that these coaches put out there are the perfect way to get the most out of their players, but it's one clip on Twitter. You don't understand what they're asking these guys to do, and you're not in the room with these guys every single day. So you can't look at one clip that was posted on Twitter and say, that's a bad drill and here's why, because you don't understand what else they're doing with it or what they're asking these players to do. I just think it's so stupid to take one social media clip and be like, that's a bad drill. Well, you don't understand what they're asking these guys to do within the system, how they're trying to translate these drills into what they're doing on the field. I just saw that and I was like, this is ridiculous that this guy thinks that he's so much smarter than Greg Lewis, who I'm sure put this drill together.
Yeah, and you also have to look at it from, let's say a wide receiver standpoint, which is what the guy was doing, breaking down his film, or that little small clip. These clips are not in, 1.0 speed. They're at like 0.5. Some of these are slowed down.
Right.
Like, well, it's for the cinematography of it all of social media. It's not for breaking down film. And again, like you mentioned, to some of these, breakdowns of these people with these slower clips, these coaches on the field are probably saying, let's work on your first 2 steps out of your break. And then whatever else is all improvised. That's probably what that is.
And I did agree with one thing he said in the video, which was you get so much limited individual work, right? And that's where you can really improve on some of the finer aspects. For Cam Ward specifically, that's where he can work on his base and his footwork and all that kind of stuff. So this time is important, but it's so funny to have these people who were not there at practice, did not get to watch everything that they did. And he's trying to act like he's smarter than an actual NFL wide receivers coach. And I know this guy works with NFL wide receivers. Like he's a private coach who works on, route running ability, quickness, short area speed, all that kind of stuff. But it's like you're basing this off of one clip with absolutely zero context and making this long video about how you know better than these actual NFL wide receiver coaches. Just stop it. Like, I understand that some of these drills might look pointless on just looking at them, not knowing anything else that's going on in that building, but you don't know what Greg Lewis is asking of his wide receivers. You don't know what Bones Fossil is asking of some of his special teams guys in that drill the drill that Tyron Montgomery went through in rookie minicamp. It looked really stupid. It did. I did not understand the point of it, but I'm sure there was a point to it, because if there wasn't a point to it, they wouldn't be doing it, right? So you don't have enough context to say that that's a stupid drill because you don't understand it and what they're asking. So anyway, I thought that was ridiculous to go on there. And I mean, it's just what people do these days. You think you know better than the people who actually do it for a living.
Yeah. And that the whole Ty Montgomery clip, like, yes, he looks like Captain Jack Sparrow running through a bunch of stuff, but that's because of the whole drill itself. Like, I agree with you, Jake. I don't know what the intention of that drill was for. If it was just more of see what the footwork is like. If you had somebody that was, a little bit more experienced at a higher level, I'm sure that drill doesn't look like that.
Right. I am not in the meeting rooms with Greg Lewis, but neither is Route God. So like maybe to you, that doesn't look like a drill that's getting the most out of Carnell Tate or these wide receivers, but you don't know, right? Like, what else are they doing off of that drill? Like, it felt like a big overreaction to me. Let's go to the phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Butchie Boy is calling in. Thanks for calling. What you got for us?
You can't choose your parents. You can't choose your name. It is what it is, So I'm sorry. Hey, listen, I want to say I don't have a dog in this hunt. I'm just objective here, but it seems a little bit like our voice is more credible than yours type argument. Because I can tell you, man, I turn on the radio every day, and I don't listen to it because there's a lot of talking heads who are talking about things that they really don't have the full information on, man. And that's sports talk radio. You put hot takes in there and you get people talking. That's why you're here. That's why I'm calling in, because you said something, and So I think we have to be careful, or at least I know there's a lot of sports people live in a bubble. And I just think you guys have to be careful about calling out, who's got a better voice, who has better insight, because at the end of the day, all of what you guys do is objective, and all of what you guys do really, you're not dealing with 100% of the information a lot of the times. And I get that there are people who are more experienced who can look at a post and say, you know what, this guy that posted this, he just doesn't understand the full context of things. And I get that, but I just think it's kind of a slippery slope, because there's a lot of talking heads out there trying to get heard and trying to post their stuff. And a lot of times they don't have the full information. So that's just another take I'm throwing your way.
Yeah,
Thank you guys.
thanks for the call. I feel like that's exactly what we were trying to say. It's like I don't have all the information either. That's exactly what I said. Is I'm not in the room with Greg Lewis, but neither is Route God. And so that's the point we're trying to make, is like, we're on the outside looking in. We don't have Carnell Tate sitting in this chair with us telling us this was the point of the drill, and Greg Lewis told us that, but neither does Route God. That's the whole point I was trying to make, is that people are making these quick judgments without having the full context and information of what they're being asked to do.
Yeah, I mean, do we say anything that was like concrete
I don't know.
evidence?
I feel like we try and be as like little hot take as possible, and so I don't know if that was directed at us or at
in general
Route God. I don't know, but like, I agree with what he's saying, that sports talk radio is, I mean, a lot of it is people like us who are not, I mean, I'm not out in the Titans.
Yeah, I'm not in practice every day.
I'm not watching practice every day. I'm not a former coach or something like that, but I know football, and like, I can watch football and read storylines and come to opinions based on it. And I know Route God is probably the same way, but again, he's on the outside looking in just like we are.
Yeah, like I wouldn't say a lot of football experience, but I played through, grade school, high school, not at the college level. I mean, Parker did, and Parker played at the college level.
Right.
So we all have a football idea of what it's like to be on the field, and you try to compare that to what it is on the NFL field. That's why Derek Mason's here. Derek Mason is he's on our radio staff because this guy has lived it.
I would like to hear what D-Mace has to say about this, actually. Like, I hope Adam or Willie today asks Derek Mason, like, you look at that drill, you've been in NFL wide receiver rooms, you've been in NFL practice. Do you think that drill is worthwhile? And see, we get a good opinion out of that. But I'm going to trust Derek Mason's opinion over Route God. And I'm going to trust that the guy who actually has a job as an NFL wide receivers coach knows what he's doing more than a guy who's on TikTok.
Right.
That was the whole point I was trying to make. John in Nashville says football content at this time of year is utterly ridiculous. Yeah, you're probably not wrong there. He said, could we move on to our red hot Nashville SC, who got another win heading into the World Cup break?
That's right. 14 matches, 33 points, 11 points in 5 matches in the month of May for MLS. I mean, this team has definitely put themselves in a really good spot after the World Cup break.
Yes. I mean, they are they're in the lead across the entire MLS now, 33
Community
points.
Shield and Eastern Conference. I mean, you look at the way this team is scoring goals, not with the starters, but backups. Brian Acosta gets 2 goals against New England. Now you have Maxwell Beleji, who's a center back from Ghana, scored a goal, his first goal with Nashville SC this past Saturday, and also Jason Palacios, another center back. So this team is starting to really look better when you're seeing those aerial balls passed in from the corner kicks, also the crosses. The first, I'd say, 3 to 4 matches into May, this team was playing a lot of their balls inside the box on the ground, and it was more of touch and feel. You put it into the back of the net. Now that you have a few of your players, well, I wouldn't say a few, but Sam Surge coming back, some of these players in the midfield like a Matthew Corcoran and Brian Acosta, who are starting to get that chemistry down, you're able to see them play natural again, like they were before the injuries with Andy Nahar, Yazbek, Tagseth. They're getting back to their old ways, which I think is another tip of the cap to BJ Callahan. It's the system. It's not the player.
Yeah, no, I agree. And we've seen the growth of this team overall and some of the young players. So I'm excited to see. I mean, it's such, we got 2 months away, but we are 2 weeks away from the World Cup now.
I believe 17 days,
yeah.
16 days.
Crazy.
Like yep.
Crazy. It is, It is coming up quick.
But
it is.
It puts Nashville in a really good spot after the World Cup break. They also have the Leagues Cup in August, so you'll have 3 to 4 games from playing the Liga MX teams like Club Leon and so forth. I'm not sure how much will be invested into that tournament. In my opinion, if you're Nashville and you're at the top of the Community Shield standings along with MLS in the Eastern Conference, just play your rotational guys in the Leagues Cup, in my opinion.
There you go. 615-737-1025. 6166 says he agrees with the caller. He said to quit talking like you know more than the coaches. Well, over the last few years, the fans and their assessment on coaching has been correct. Remember the fallout over Brian Callahan's summer camp. How did that work out? I'm going to say that, I kind of answered this in the way I said it. I said, don't judge it based off a 6-second clip. Now, Brian Callahan laid out his entire plan for last offseason, and everybody still said, yeah, that's probably not the best way to build this team because you knew most of the context there. I'm saying let's not judge based on just a social media clip that made the rounds when you don't have the context. Now, if Greg Lewis speaks at the podium and tells you, hey, here's why I did that drill, and you still don't think it's worthwhile, then sure, I have that opinion. But basing it just off of a 6-second clip where you don't understand the context of what they're being asked to do, I just felt like that was stupid.
Yeah, and to be fair, the route God on Twitter or whatever was probably doing that for monetization purposes.
Right.
I mean, let's be fair. Like, that's his brand. He's
Yeah,
making money doing that.
Exactly. 615-737-1025. Hour number 1 is in the books. When we come back, more Titans talk. I know that Nick and Connor got into this over the weekend, but I want to talk about it a little bit more. Cam Ward lost 10 pounds. Could we see him more as a runner this year based on what Brian Daboll has done with his quarterbacks in the past? We'll talk about that coming up in hour number 2. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Second hour, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Dr. Crane, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly with you, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly BI membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Lots of Titans talk to get into this hour. We'll also talk some college football as SEC meetings begin down in Destin, Florida. Greg Sankey spoke yesterday and some very interesting comments. But first, let's go to our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Dr. Locke is called in. Dr. Locke, thanks for calling. Good morning.
Good morning. How you doing, fellas?
We're doing great. How are you?
Before I ask my question, I want to. There's no way the earlier caller could have been referring to my man Parker Kelly or Jake Lyman. That had to be a broad statement. I mean, we're talking that would be slander to the flagship of the 102.5 lineup. That there's no two more objective and on point voices than Parker Kelly and Jake Lyman. So that couldn't be aimed towards you guys.
I think you're right. I think it was with a broad brush, and I agree with him that there are a lot of people, and sometimes us included, who will speak on stuff that maybe we are not as educated on. But I'm just saying, without context, it makes it a lot harder to come up with an educated opinion.
Of course, I had to call, though. You know, nobody talks about my guys. But anyway, I know you guys are watching basketball. You got a 10-0 Knicks team that is absolutely playing the best ball on one side. Tonight, I'm going back and forth. Oklahoma City, do they cover 4.5? Do they win? I'm leaning yes. If they do win, does either Oklahoma City or San Antonio beat a 10-0 Knicks team that's playing out of the world? I mean, I kind of want to hear your opinion on that.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we talked about to start the show. Is just I was under the I was of the opinion that winner of Thunder and Spurs was going to roll to a championship, right? Like, I just thought the West is much more talented than the East. But the Knicks are changing my mind with the way they're playing. They have been just a complete wagon through the Eastern Conference. So I think it's going to be a good series.
How about tonight? Who wins?
I'm going to go Thunder at home. I think this could go 7. I think Spurs could defend home court and get it back to OKC for Game 7. But I'm going to say the Thunder win Game 5 at home.
All right. Before I came up, Parker said the same thing. So you guys are reading off the same page there. All right. You guys swayed me to an Oklahoma City wager. I'm in.
Thanks for the call, Dr. Locke. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's going to be a good game tonight, I think. And I still will say the winner of the Western Conference Finals wins the finals, but I'm going to say it goes to 6 games now. I was thinking gentleman's sweep, 4-1, Spurs or Thunder over the Knicks. I'm going to say the Knicks at least get it to 6, but I'm still going the winner of the West.
Yeah, I'm sticking with the East.
Okay, you're going with the New York Knicks?
I got to. Being a Knicks fan since like the 5th grade, got to stick with it. I roll with the punches.
I love it. You got to roll with what you got there.
Yeah, and looking at like the Spurs tonight, like I could see the Spurs winning this ball game. It's just a matter of getting Wembanyama in foul trouble a little bit. I know he had a little bit of issues in Game 1 about that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And again, having De'Aaron Fox back in the mix for the Spurs, we've seen SGA kind of struggle a little bit inside the paint. Obviously, people call him the free throw merchant or whatever it is. I don't know if you get that in tonight's game. And if you do, it's going to be +1 for OKC because that puts San Antonio in foul trouble.
Yeah, it's a tough place to go win. I know the Spurs were able to do it in double overtime in Game 1, but I just think OKC is going to be a little bit too much today. But I think going back to San Antonio, backs against the wall, I think the Spurs will get it done there. I'll go Thunder and 7 back in OKC, but I do think that this could go either way. These teams are both super talented and both have absolute superstars leading the way. So I'm excited. This is probably the most excited I've been about NBA basketball in a few years here.
I'm right there with you.
I mean, the series has been awesome, and I think the final series with the Knicks should be fun as well. Let's get into the Titans here. The news from OTAs last Thursday, of course, Carnell Tate's big day took a lot of the attention, but also Cam Ward came back and said he was 10 pounds lighter. He's been working on his diet. Robert Saleh mentioned no seed oils in the building, all that. But the one thing that everybody is kind of taken from this of Cam Ward being lighter is maybe he's going to be a little bit more mobile. Last year we saw him run, but he's not a great runner. He can escape. He has the escape ability to make pass rushers miss, but he's not a guy who, if he gets into the open field, is a threat to take it all the way, right? He's not a burner. Losing 10 pounds, I think, shows you that maybe he wants to be more mobile and be a more willing runner this year. I'm a little concerned about that. You don't want him taking as many hits. We saw Jackson Dart with Brian Daboll last year, all the hits that he took. You want to keep Cam Ward from taking as many hits as possible. I think it's got to be, if he is going to become more of a runner, he has to do it in a very smart way. And that's something that they'll have to work on throughout the offseason and into training camp.
Yeah, and when you're one of those quarterbacks that can kind of improvise outside the pocket and maybe, collect maybe 5 or 6 yards, ball security is the big thing I would emphasize. The guy had 11 fumbles last season. You wonder if some of that can be not holding the ball out like a loaf of bread.
Yeah.
Tuck it and run type thing. Again, I would not be advocating for Cam Ward to run outside the pocket. If he's a smart quarterback, he'll throw it away. But look, if he's in one of those situations where he has to get 4 or 5 yards on third down, go ahead, have at it. But I'm not going to advocate for it.
Well, I think we saw after Brian Callahan got fired, Mike McCoy came out and said, we need Cam Ward to run the football more. It has to be a threat to defenses, because early on it was Cam gets outside the pocket. Well, that corner or that linebacker isn't going to step up and try and stop him from running, because Cam Ward has shown that he is running to throw. He is not running to run. And by just doing it every once in a while, you put that second thought in the defender's head, and that can maybe open up more things down the field. I did see Jeremy Fowler. He tweeted out TD's story about Cam Ward coming into OTAs 10 pounds lighter. And he mentioned this, that under Brian Daboll, Josh Allen in 2021, 7.2 rushing attempts per game. Daniel Jones in 2022, 7.5. Last year, Jackson Dart, 7.2. So Brian Daboll has had more mobile quarterbacks, and they have run the football 7+ times per game. I don't think that means that Cam Ward is going to be running the ball 7 times per game. You've got to build your system around the type of player that you have. And even Cam Ward, 10 pounds lighter, still isn't going to be a constant runner of the football, I don't think.
Yeah, and it was a point that I brought up to Connor over the weekend. When you look at the tackle positions on both sides of the line, Dan Moore Jr., J.C. Latham, you wonder, it solely depends on those two players. If they can hold their blocks long enough for him to throw, you don't have to worry about Cam running the ball. But if they're struggling like they were last season, then yes, Cam's going to have to use his feet a little bit more and be a little bit more secure with the ball in his hands.
Yes, and yeah, as you mentioned, we saw he did struggle early on in the season, especially with holding on to the football. I think there's a big difference between being a willing runner and being a running quarterback, right? And I think Cam Ward, you've got to find the happy medium where he is a willing runner, and he's keeping his eyes downfield, but he's also not just not running because he doesn't want to run, because that can lead him into trouble. Yes, he got away with a lot of throws back over the middle of the field. You're not always going to get away with that, and I'm sure defenses are going to try and bait him into making some of those throws this year now that they have a full year of film on him. I would love to see Cam Ward, when he gets outside of the pocket, if there's 5 yards that he can get, go get it. If you can get to the sticks because they're keeping the defense back downfield, go get to the sticks. Do that kind of running. But I don't think he needs to run 7 times per game. And I don't think Brian Daboll needs to be designing quarterback runs like he had for Josh Allen back in the day, or even Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is 6'5". He's a bigger, longer quarterback that is a dual threat guy. Cam Ward, I would say, isn't a dual threat quarterback. He's a guy who can run and should run sometimes, but I don't think him losing 10 pounds is all of a sudden going to turn him into Kyler Murray, where he's running all over the place and is a real threat with his legs. I think he's going to be a guy who can run, but won't run more than 3 or 4 times a game, depending on what the defense gives you.
4 should be a max. And to argue the point of should he run more? The people out there think he might be more inclined to being a running quarterback. I would say Brian Daboll has more weapons on this offense than he's had at previous stops with Buffalo and New York. I mean, you look at Buffalo, yes, you had Josh Allen, you had Gabe Davis at one point,
Stephon Diggs, Cole Beasley.
Yeah, Cole Beasley, Dawson Knox. You have all those pieces to that offense, but not all at once, if that makes sense. Nashville, Tennessee Titans have Calvin Ridley, see what he can do this season. You have Gunnar Helm, Alec Alamander, Tim DK, who, again, those two players last season matured as rookies. I think they come back into this wide receiver room as actual weapons for Cam Ward. You have Gunnar Helm, who's now tight end number one on this offense. Yeah. I'm still impressed with the Nick Singleton 5th-round pick because everybody keeps talking about how, the stats of touchdowns and running game at Penn State. The guy's a pretty good pass blocker. Like, I think that's a part of his game that people overlook, which gives Cam Ward a little more time in the pocket.
Yeah, I do think you have upgraded the offense overall. The weapons definitely look better this year. I mean, last year, your top 3 or 4 receivers was Calvin Ridley, Tyler Lockett, and then your rookies, DK, Iamaner, and Van Jefferson. Like, that was your receiver room. This year, it's Carnell Tate, Wan'Dale Robinson, then Calvin Ridley, and then Chim DK. And I think the depth in that room and the higher top-end talent does make things easier for Cam Ward, where maybe he doesn't have to make those hero ball plays quite as much as he did last year. I know he can make those throws, and I said it the second he made the first touchdown pass to Alec Iamander against the Rams. It's a great throw. I want to see him do more regular quarterback things than those things in year 2. Yes, it's great to have that in your bag. If it's 3rd and 7 in a close game and you have to move the chains and all your reads are covered and you've got to get out of the pocket and make something happen, I am glad that Cam Ward has that in his tool bag. But what's most important for Cam Ward this year is doing the normal things that a quarterback needs to do. And being consistent in those things, going through your reads, making the right decisions, being accurate with the football. And also, I think knowing when to run is a big part of it. And that's the conversation here is just because he's lost 10 pounds and just because Brian Daboll has had running quarterbacks in the past doesn't mean Cam Ward needs to become a running quarterback. But I do think he has to, again, have that in his tool bag. He has to have that to keep defenses honest. And early on in the season, we didn't see that as much. I think the offense started to play better when he was more of a willing runner down the stretch of the season.
Yeah, I'd say in year 1 for Cam Ward, we saw that raw talent that, being a number 1 overall pick, you want to see what he can be at that like NFL style quarterback. But to know that you have that raw talent, like you said, in your tool bag, you can make sure that's a safety net for him. Whereas for the, I guess I'll call it the professional quarterback aspect of it all for Cam Ward, now that you have structure with a coach and Brian Daboll, you don't have somebody misguiding you in the wrong direction. So I like that he's dropped 10 pounds. My only concern is, and again, I'm not in the building for this, but when you lose that 10 pounds, is it all fat or is some of it muscle? Like, you want to know what that is. What's the breakdown?
Right. We don't know the context there. We just know he said he lost 10 pounds.
Right.
615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to text or call. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. And all of our offseason coverage is brought to you by Tennessee Brewworks. Raise a glass with Tennessee Brewworks, proud partner and official craft beer of the football offseason coverage here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. We'll continue this conversation on the other side. We'll talk some Carnell Tate this hour too and get your thoughts on our phone and text line as well as in our YouTube chat. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel at 102.5 The Game for live shows and exclusive content. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. The 615 Open Golf Tournament might be sold out, but you can bid on all kinds of awesome experiences to directly support Folds of Honor at 615open.com/auction. Have an unforgettable time while supporting a great cause. 615open.com/auction. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly alongside you, talking Titans here. And Cam Ward, 10 pounds lighter coming into OTAs, and a lot of people have asked the question, does that mean he is going to run the football more moving forward? And I do look at his game logs from last year, and early on in the season, he did not run the ball much. Through the, I guess we can say, in the Brian Callahan era, he only ran the ball 14 times in 6 games. And actually, he didn't run the ball against New England either. So 14 times in the first 7 games, 2 times per game. Then he had the stretch against Houston, ran the ball 3 times for 33 yards. Against Seattle, 6 times for 37 yards, and he had a touchdown on the it was like quarterback sneak play on that one, right? So he went through a stretch where he did run the ball more often. It kind of tapered off down the stretch until the design run that obviously led to his season coming to an end. I do not think that Brian Daboll should be drawing up quarterback runs for Cam Ward. Obviously there will be a QB sneak here and there where they need him to get a couple of inches, but I don't want to see Josh Allen-like plays where he's in the shotgun and they run quarterback draw. I don't think that there's upside with that. Like, Cam Ward is not a great runner of the football. He wasn't at Miami. He wasn't at Washington State. And I don't think he's going to be in the NFL. So I saw Caleb on the YouTube chat asking, was the stats for those guys designed runs or designed and scrambles? I believe it was designed and scrambles together. And there are going to be games where Cam Ward doesn't have to scramble, right? The opportunity just isn't there. But I do think that being lighter, being a little bit more spry, quick on his feet, going to give him more opportunities to put pressure on the defense. And I think that is what should be the focus this season for Cam Ward. Not, hey, he needs to run the ball 7 times a game. No, he just has to do it enough to put pressure on the defense and keep that in the back of their mind.
Yeah, you collect those short passes with Wando Robinson, Shimdike to open up the play action game a little bit. I think that we've seen the Titans in years past, obviously under different staffs, but they've done a really good job at play action. Even when Ryan Tannehill was here, the play action game was fantastic. So you wonder if that could be something that they could rely on. And mention the quarterback draws up the middle with guys like Josh Allen and Jackson Dart. You wonder if Brian Daboll does something like that, but for a jump pass purpose. You know what I mean? Like, that might be something else if that's a trick up his sleeve, because there are a lot of weapons on this offense. Might as well do a few trick plays here and there.
Go to Wildcat for the jump pass.
I have mentioned before with Connor, like, might as well put Will Levis in there so you don't hurt Cam Ward.
Yeah, I missed the King Cat. I saw the replay from the Ravens playoff game back in 2019, 2020, where Marcus Mariota was in, and he was wide open in the end zone, and King Henry tunnel vision on Corey Davis, and thankfully Davis actually made the play. But let Tony Pollard throw a few. Tajay Spears, if you're going to run the jump pass.
Thanks for mentioning Tony Pollard, because I feel like the run game this year is going to look a lot better. We saw under Brian Callahan and Mike McCoy, that was relied on a lot because there was really not much creativity offensively when it came to certain plays and so forth. I think now that you have I'd say a 3-headed running back room, obviously you have Tajay Spears, and I'd say Nick Singleton's, I give him the upper edge in running the ball in between the tackles. But when it comes to the bell cow, it's for sure Tony Pollard. And like you mentioned, if Cam Ward can kind of, I think I mentioned it, opening up the passing game with play action, collect those short passes, it'll open up the run game as well. And I think when you have guys like, Cordell Volson and Jackson Slater competing for that right guard spot, you wonder if that's going to be, a healthy competition to where you can get some production in between the guards and tackles.
Yeah, and I do think that running the football is going to be a big part of what the Titans do this year. Brian Daboll likes to run the football, and we saw Cam Ward's growth when the run game was actually working. You look at the first, 12 games of the season, Tony Pollard was averaging right around 12, 13, 14 carries per game. In fact, from the Indianapolis or the New England game all the way down until the Jacksonville game, he didn't have a single game with more than 11 carries.
Mm.
Then 25 against Cleveland, 14 for 104 against San Francisco, 21 against Kansas City, 18 against New Orleans. So they started to lean on the run game, and you look at those games. Cleveland, 2 touchdowns for Cam Ward. San Francisco, 2 touchdowns for Cam Ward. Kansas City, New Orleans. Like
Tony Pollard.
No, for Cam Ward. He had
Oh.
he was starting to throw
Yeah.
touchdown passes and be more productive as a quarterback when the run game was an actual threat.
Yeah.
And so, not that I don't want to take too much from last year. And, I think a lot of that you want to flush it.
Right.
But I do think you have to look at the way things changed offensively down the stretch. And you see they were able to actually open holes in the run game. Tony Pollard was being productive, and Cam Ward started to play better because of that. I think they have to start right there with the new Brian Daboll offense. Lead with the run, let Cam Ward play off of that, get his feet under him, and then you can expand from there. But I do think that the success this season on offense, obviously it starts with the offensive line, and I think it starts with the run game, and can they be productive on the ground?
And it was a point you brought up when it came to Cam Ward, scrambling and running the ball. Yet it keeps that second thought in the linebacker's mind of like, I got to watch out for him. Same thing goes for Tony Pollard in the run game. Now, if that's productive, like referring to the Cleveland game here, Tony Pollard, that was his best game of the season with 2 touchdowns on the ground. It makes you wonder. That's where you can see Cam Ward flourish, like you're talking about there. It opens up more passing opportunities.
And you have downfield threats like Carnell Tate, and you hope Chim Dike can be a guy who can take the top off the defense. I don't really know what Calvin Ridley is going to be this year. Like
a game plan wide receiver for defenses.
That's
kind of how I look at it.
I want to see what he looks like coming off that injury. And I heard Robbie say this morning. He's 32, coming off a broken leg. Like, you've got to prove that you can still be a guy who can take the top off the defense and make those plays downfield. But you do have options there. And I do think the play action passing game is going to be really important for Cam Ward early on, as it is for almost every young quarterback making their way in the league. TD always talks about the transcontinental crosser from Chim Dike. I'd love to see some concepts early on of, hey, you've got Carnell Tate running a deep post, and you've got Chim Dike coming underneath on that crossing route. Run play action off of that and let Cam Ward make the read. If the safety comes down on Dike, throw it over the top to Tate. If he goes with Tate, you can find Dike over the middle. Like, I think that kind of concept is going to be big for Cam Ward in year 2 with the weapons that he has around him.
Yeah, and bringing Carnell Tate into this equation, like I mentioned a couple weeks ago when I filled in for you on your honeymoon, is that you have the A-dot receiver, and that's why they bring in a guy like Carnell Tate, a guy that can create separation when the ball's not in his hands.
Yep.
I believe it. Ohio State, he was 14.8. In the NFL, the average is roughly 12.8 to 12.9.
Yep.
If you see a little bit of dip for Carnell Tate to get in the 12s and 11s, that's kind of what you want. In every offense Brian Daboll has had previously with Buffalo to New York, he's always had that A-dot receiver that can at least average 12 on the minimum.
Well, and yeah, we went through this a couple weeks ago too, of just like Brian Daboll does have his specific brands of receivers in this room. Carnell Tate can be Stephon Diggs-like, not the same type of player, but can do some of the similar things that Brian Daboll asked Stephon Diggs to do. Wan'Dale Robinson can be Wan'Dale Robinson or Cole Beasley in the slot. And then you've got options for that third wide receiver, who we talked about is more of the big play wide receiver. Not going to have a ton of catches, but going to make plays downfield. I like Chim Dike there, but it could be Calvin Ridley early on because he's got the veteran presence. Maybe it could be Alec Iamaner, but I do think you have good options for Carnell Tate. For Cam Ward, including Carnell Tate, who we'll talk about coming up next, as his hype train is already starting to leave the station after a 3-touchdown day in May. Again, want to preface in May, in the first day of OTAs, but people are getting excited about Carnell Tate as a possible wide receiver 1. We'll get into that coming up next. 102.5 The Game is your racing station. This weekend, you can catch all of the action as NASCAR comes to the Nashville Superspeedway on 102.5 The Game, presented by City Auto and Nelson's Greenbrier Distillery. Friday is the Allegiance 200 at 6:30. Saturday, the Sports Illustrated Resorts 250 at 6 p.m. And then Sunday, the Cracker Barrel 400 at 5 p.m. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. 1025 The Game and Maple Street Biscuit Company have teamed up and are giving you a chance to win a pair of tickets in the all-inclusive 501 Club at Bridgestone Arena to the Music City Rodeo, followed by Charlie Crockett this Friday night. Text the keyword rodeo, RODEO, to 615-737-1025 now to enter to win. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly with you on this Tuesday morning talking Titans, and got into Cam Ward, lost some weight, maybe going to be a more willing runner this year. But also Carnell Tate was the story of last week's OTAs, and they will be back on the field this week. I believe Friday is the open media practice, so we'll get another look and notes about how the Titans are looking. Again, very early in the offseason program. But Teron Davenport put out this article yesterday on ESPN, and I want to get into this with TD on Thursday as well, about Carnell Tate being a perfect fit for Cam Ward. And there was one little nugget from here that I thought was insane that I wanted to bring up. Cam Ward talked about Carnell Tate saying he's got great hands, he wins in man coverage, he's a strider, he can win against the press. This line from TD's article: Cam Ward completed just 17% of his passes to last year's group of receivers when they faced press coverage. 17%. And I'm sure that Cam Ward deserves some blame for that too, right? Completing 17% of your passes against press coverage. The quarterback deserves some blame for that. But I think that also shows you that those guys just could not get open. You know, Calvin Ridley, an experienced veteran guy, not a superstar, but he got hurt early on in the year. Never really made a huge impact last year for Cam Ward. But you had rookies, you had Van Jefferson, you had Tyler Lockett for half the season. Sometimes Xavier Strepo was out there. You didn't have many good options. They were not winning in press coverage one-on-one. Carnell Tate is a guy that I think the Titans believe can fix that problem for them, because 17% when you're getting pressed, that is abysmal.
It's bad. Like, you go back and look at what Carnell Tate did in those contested catches, 85%, which is 12 of 14 in college. He had caught contested catches. And I'd say out of those two, they were not drops. They were just deflected from the cornerback, that is. So it goes to show you that is the trend that they're trying to grab, is the contested catch wide receiver, which we all know was lacking last year in the Titans offense.
Well, and you can argue all you want about Carnell Tate and the value at number 4. But I do think in terms of the type of wide receiver the Titans needed, Carnell Tate does check a lot of those boxes. You mentioned his contested catch ability. He was one of the best contested catch players in college football last year. So that gives a guy that Cam Ward can, the screw it, Carnell Tate's down there somewhere, throw it up and see if he can go make a play. And so I think that's important. But also, he has shown to be a talented route runner who can win in short areas. That's I continue to go back to Dave Ziegler's comment, which TD really conceptualized and contextualized for me, of being a 3-down receiver. Like, he's not just a big play guy. He can win in short areas on 3rd down and move the chains for you. So I do think Carnell Tate is a really good fit for what the Titans want to do at wide receiver. Now, that doesn't mean he's going to come out and light the league on fire, but I do think he fits, and it's good to see that he's off to a good start in the offseason program and building that confidence and that chemistry with Cam Ward.
Yeah, the confidence is huge for a rookie wide receiver in this case. And kind of, dishing the conversation to a few other wide receivers in that room. You mentioned Calvin Ridley earlier, Elikayo Manor, and now Carnell Tate. Those three inside the red zone, to me personally, I think they're contested catch receivers that can really help Cam Ward if he's in a bind. Like, that's something that you can say, I can rely on these 3 guys in the red zone.
Yeah, the Titans were the 2nd worst team in red zone scoring last year, I want to say. So obviously not good. And so I do think the Titans needed to go find touchdown scorers this year, right? Like, you had to go out and find guys who can make plays for you and get into the end zone. Now, Carnell Tate, again, it's OTAs. Pads are not on. This is far from week 1 against the Jets. But 2 of the touchdowns Carnell Tate scored back on Thursday were in the red zone. And I think it's really important to find somebody who can get you into the painted area, because outside of a couple of scores here and there really just wasn't a guy like that you looked at and were like, man, once they get into that low red zone, he's a threat to score on any play. Wan'Dale Robinson with his ability in the short area. I know he didn't score a ton of touchdowns last year, but he's a guy who can get open inside the 5. And Carnell Tate as a jump ball kind of guy, I do think that gives Cam Ward more options to score in the red zone than he had last year, of course.
Yeah, and you've seen the maturity of Carnell Tate through Ohio State from 2023 when he only had just a touchdown and not that many targets. He had like 250, 260 yards. 264 when it comes to exact receiving yards at 23. That then increases in 2024 and then 2025 because he has matured as a player and he worked his way through the depth chart. I see the same thing trajectory-wise happening for a guy like Carnell Tate with the Tennessee Titans. Obviously, you draft him at number 4 overall. You need him to be a key impact player this season as a rookie, but you're still going to see that maturity and that adjustment level when you're a rookie wide receiver in the league.
Yes, I have high expectations for Carnell Tate, and I think everybody should have high expectations for Carnell Tate. I don't think we should be backtracking in December if he has 40 catches for 500 yards and 2 touchdowns and saying, "Oh, well, he's a rookie." Like this is what? No, he's the 4th overall pick. You expect him to come out and make an impact immediately. We saw the wide receivers who went in the first round last year. Tet McMillan, 1,000-yard receiver, rookie of the year. Emeka Egbuka, impact player from the word go. Now, I know he slowed down towards the end of the season. The Bucs in general slowed down towards the end of the season, but I want to see that type of impact from Carnell Tate, who was picked higher than both of those guys were.
Yeah, and you kind of look at the Emeka Egbuka situation in Tampa Bay. I would, like you said, they dropped off near the end. I'd say it's more on Baker Mayfield's decision-making that's really dropped off that offense to why Emeka Egbuka didn't really flourish in that, later half of the season. You look at Super Bowl winning wide receiver, Jackson Smith-Njigba, coming from Ohio State as well. That's another player that took his opportunity and ran with it. Carnell Tate is on that same trajectory. Yes, they all came from Ohio State. Yes, they all were coached under the same wide receiver.
Yeah, Brian
coach.
Hartline.
Yeah, it's now at, I believe,
UCF.
USF.
USF. Yeah.
And he's with his brother. But you look at all those, tendencies from his previous stops. He's only setting himself up for a good opportunity to be flourishing in Nashville.
Yeah, Scott Frost is back at UCF. I forgot about that. National champion head coach Scott Frost is back there. Yes, I have high hopes for Carnell Tate. Now, we've gone through the Malik Neighbors stats from 2 years ago. Yeah. I don't know if you can expect that much, but that was in a Brian Daboll system. He got 170 targets. Like I struggle to see Carnell Tate getting 170 targets, but I do think he is going to be featured in this offense, and I think he's going to be expected to perform. I've said before, I want a Tet McMillan-like rookie season from Carnell Tate. Tet McMillan, he won Rookie of the Year last year, correct? I believe he won it. I always forget though because him and Egbuka were so close. Yes, he was Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Don't worry, the NFL can screw it up somehow by giving the Defensive Player of the Year.
Defensive Rookie of the Year. 70 catches, 1,014 yards, and 7 touchdowns. I do not think that's too much to ask of Carnell Tate. Now, I'm not saying that's like if he doesn't get there, he's a bust. Like if he has 900 yards and 5 touchdowns, it's not a horrible rookie season. But I don't think for a 4th overall pick who is going to be heavily featured in this offense, I don't think 70 catches for 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns is too much to ask.
No, I think around 800 for me is the ballpark number for Carnell Tate because of the weapons that I mentioned in this past segment and hour. Is that there's other options for Cam Ward, and yes, Carnell Tate is a number 4 overall pick, number 1 for the Titans. That is, I just think you need to be able to spread out the ball and not just hone in on one player. And again, there are some pros to Carnell Tate's game and being a contested catch receiver, creating that separation, seeing if you can take the top off the defense. That's fantastic. But you cannot forget about guys like Wan'Dale Robinson and Elikayo Manor and Calvin Ridley. See what he can do this season. Again, you don't really know what the trajectory is for him under Brian Daboll, but I don't want to put too much pressure. And I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying in general, like that's kind of the situation with him is you don't want to put too much pressure on a rookie wide receiver for the Titans.
No, I know, but when you draft a guy that high, you passed on some really good players to take him. I think you need to see proof of concept pretty quickly from Carnell Tate. Now, everybody needs to just take a deep breath too of like, if he comes out against the Jets and has 3 catches for 27 yards and no touchdowns, that doesn't mean he's a bust either. It's a long season. Like,
Right.
but I do think over the course of the year, 1,000 yards in a 17-game season. I know I've done the math before, but I'll do it again just to quickly. 1,000 yards in a 17-game season is 59 yards per game. 59 yards per game, 7 touchdowns is like less than half a touchdown per game, scoring every other week. For a guy you took 4th overall, I think as a rookie, as long as he stays healthy, 5 catches for 60 yards and 1 touchdown every other week is not too much to ask.
Yeah, I mean, it's valid. I 60 yards, yeah, it's doable. I just see this offense being spread out. I just see a lot of these wide receivers and even the tight end in this case, Gunnar Helm, in the running back room, and Nick Singleton. Like, to me, right now, Nick Singleton is considered, in my opinion, a scat back just from what you have in your running back room. Yes, Tajay Spears is that, lead scat back, but right now you have a big unknown with Singleton. Pollard, on the other hand, is your bell cow running back. I think you can spread the ball out, running the ball along with passing out of the backfield. And, you have Gunnar Helm that's probably going to be somewhat of a big part in this offense.
Yeah.
So, I'm not just, saying that Carnell Tate's not going to have a really good season. I'm just thinking, I don't know if 60 yards per game is going to happen for him.
I just feel like that'd be a disappointment. And that doesn't mean he has to have 60 yards at least every game. There are going to be games where he maybe has 30.
Sure.
But he should also have games where he has 110,
Yeah,
right? Like
the laws of averages should equal it all
So
out.
I have high expectations for Carnell Tate heading into this year. Number one is staying healthy. As we found out with previous first-round pick wide receivers and second-round pick wide receivers here, you have to have them on the field. But if Carnell Tate stays healthy, I really don't think a 1,000-yard season is all that hard to imagine for Carnell Tate. And, 1,000 yards isn't that's not the bar for me. He can get less than 1,000 yards and still have a good rookie season. You got to actually watch the games. But I do think that he has the ability to do that. And I do think Brian Daboll is going to feature him and give him the opportunity to go do that.
Yeah. I mean, it's a blank canvas. So it's a matter of what you want to put on it. And if that's Carnell Tate with 800 to 1,000 yards, by all means, have at it.
615-737-1025. We will continue this conversation. We got some good texts on the text line about this. I want to get to them next, and we will wrap up the second hour. We'll get into some college football coming up in hour number 3. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly, finishing up the second hour on this Tuesday morning. We will get back into college football playoff expansion and more in the second hour as the SEC meetings are underway in Destin, Florida. Greg Sankey spoke last night, but we were talking about Carnell Tate here. And what should the expectations be for him? The hype train has left the station after a big first OTA back on Thursday. They'll be back on the field this week, including in open practice on Friday, where we should get some more information about the team. Got some text to get to here. 4312 says 5 catches, 127 yards, 2 touchdowns, first game versus the Jets. I'm calling it now for Tate. Titans going to light up the Jets and send them to the bottom where they belong. See, I think that's probably too high of expectations for game one of Carnell Tate. I don't even know who's going to be. Will it be Jarvis Brownlee Jr. guarding him for the most part?
Yeah.
Right? Like, because I'm like, Sauce Gardner's gone. So yeah, maybe Carnell Tate will light up Jarvis Brownlee Jr. Who knows?
How much of a not a slap in the face, but just like a stick it to him moment for
I don't-
the Tennessee Titans.
I don't know if he'll be able to average that many yards per catch. That's 25 yards per catch, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
When Jarvis Brownlee Jr. is just going to tackle him anytime he gets downfield and the ball's in the air.
Right now, here's the secondary depth for the New York Jets. D'Angelo Ponzo.
Right,
Let's see. Malachi Moore, Andre Sisco, Minka Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, they got Minka.
Dean Clark, Brandon Stevens, Nashawn Wright, Jarvis Brownlee Jr., obviously, and then Jordan Clark. And I'm not even mentioning some of the third stringers. So,
I mean, if it is Jarvis Brownlee Jr., I'm going to change that stat prediction from 4-3-1-2. I'm going to say 3 catches for 60 yards, 1 touchdown, and 4 pass interference penalties drawn.
there you go.
Or defensive holding.
You'll see what kind of grit Carnell Tate has under his skin if that's going to be the case. Because if he's all over him, he's like, all right, get off me. Nice little, extend the arm a little bit, and you have that A dot. That'd be beautiful.
Trevor asks, will Carnell Tate have better rookie stats than Jackson Smith and Jigba did his rookie year? So let's see. What did JSN do as a rookie? He was the 20th pick in the draft, was the first wide receiver taken that year, but it obviously fell a little bit further than many were expecting. So here's what he did his rookie season. 63 catches, 628 yards, 4 touchdowns on 93 targets. So not a great rookie season, not a horrible rookie season, but obviously wasn't lighting up the league like we've seen from some other rookie players. I would say yes. I think Carnell Tate going to have a better rookie season than Jackson Smith and Jigba did. JSN had, I guess that was Geno Smith throwing him the football that year. So I'm going to say yes. He also had DK Metcalf on the other side.
And Tyler Lockett as well.
Yeah, so that was a little bit more of a crowded wide receiver room that he entered into. He wasn't
Fant.
Right. He wasn't expected to be the number one guy immediately, which I think Carnell Tate is. So I'm going to say yes. I think it's a more productive season than Jackson Smith and Jigba had in his rookie year. Now, JSN, his second year, 100 catches for 1,100 yards. And then last year, of course, he was offensive player of the year or defensive player of the year, according to the NFL. 119 catches for 1,800 yards and 10 touchdowns. So, obviously he made the jump, but I do think Carnell Tate will be more productive as a rookie.
Yeah, you'd hope so. And it's interesting the Seahawks are brought up in this equation because you have Jackson Smith and Jigba and Cooper Kupp, who, again, we all saw Cooper Kupp win the Triple Crown with the Rams. Then I wouldn't say takes a step back, but takes a different role with the Seahawks as their wide receiver too, that reliable guy that can get you 5 to 6 yards if you really need it, like a 5 and out or something like that.
Yeah.
Then you have Jackson Smith and Jigba, who is the number 1 wide receiver. You come into the Titans and you look at this and you say, maybe Calvin Ridley can be the Cooper Kupp to Carnell Tate.
Cooper Kupp did really fall off a cliff. Like he had a fine season last year for what he was asked to do, but Triple Crown in 2021, 145 catches, 1,900 yards, and 16 touchdowns.
It's crazy.
Like one of the best receiving seasons we've ever seen. I don't think anyone can question that. 145 catches for almost 2,000 yards and 16 touchdowns. He was ridiculous. Then he got hurt the next year, only played 9 games, 75 catches, 800 yards, and 6 touchdowns. And he hasn't played a full season since then, and he has not gotten over 800 yards since then either. So, I mean, it's crazy injuries and just, he's going to be 33 this year now, but yeah, crazy. I always forget how dominant he was that season in 2021. And of course, that's the year they won the Super Bowl.
And it goes to show you how good of a quarterback Matthew Stafford really is when he has the resources to throw to. And I think that just, yes, obviously age catches up to you if you're a wide receiver, but the way that you were able to capitalize on that season to win Triple Crown and Super Bowl and all that is great. Because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Puka Nacua was wide receiver 2 on that season, correct?
He might have been drafted the next year.
Okay.
I want to say he was 2023. So
Okay,
he was the next year after that. But then he came in and set the NFL record for most rookie receptions and receiving yards. So,
And that was the changing of the guard.
Right.
And then that's where Seattle said, all right, we can bring a guy like this in.
Yeah. Well, and I think they probably, I mean, I know Puka Nacua was a 5th round pick, so it's not like they were drafting him saying, oh, he's the successor to Cooper Kupp. But I think the Rams did see the writing on the wall after he missed 8 games that year after winning the Triple Crown of like, all right, Cooper Kupp probably isn't going to get back to that peak anytime soon. They need to start looking for other options. Just so happens that Sean McVay and that staff out there are great at finding late round wide receivers.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show you that scouting department is top notch, and it makes you wonder about their draft this past year if they were all on board with that as well.
Yeah, well, yeah, all the Ty Simpson stuff has been funny of the secret meetings with Sean McVay and McVay not seeming all that thrilled when they drafted him, but putting on an act or something. I don't know. Anyway, with Carnell Tate, I think the expectation should be high, but also kept within reality here, right? Like I keep mentioning Malik Neighbors' rookie season. Under Brian Daboll, he had a great year. Great year. I don't think you can expect that from Carnell Tate. Like that is probably too high. It's like when we talked about Cam Ward last year and saying you cannot hold him to the CJ Stroud, Jaden Daniels bar because those are some of the best rookie quarterback seasons that we've seen. That doesn't mean that he isn't progressing and he isn't going to be a franchise quarterback. Nobody has really done what those guys did. Same thing can be said for Malik Neighbors or Jamar Chase in their rookie season. Those guys made an immediate impact because they were ridiculous level prospects. I don't think you can expect that from Carnell Tate in year 1, but I do think it's fair to expect 1,000 yards. Like that is my expectation is 1,000 yards. Now, 100 less, not going to say it's a failure, but I would say if he's under 800 yards, I probably would be like, man, I expected more from Carnell Tate in year 1.
Yeah, I'm okay with 800. I think 800 for me is the baseline. Again, kind of trying to temper expectations on my end. Like 800 is probably the right number because, again, you're going to be distributing the ball a little bit more on the offense. I really do see Brian Daboll expanding a lot of the, I'd say, talents of other players on this offense.
Yeah, and I do wonder. We don't really know what's the role going to look like for Gunnar Helm. Right. In year 2. Like he is tight end 1 we see, but what does that mean? What's the target share for Gunnar Helm? How often is he going to be highlighted in this Brian Daboll offense that in years past hasn't really used the tight end all that much, right? Like you look back at the Bills. Dawson Knox was a good player, but he wasn't a focal point of that offense. Same thing with, Bellinger and Theo Johnson this past year with the Giants. So I don't know what Gunnar Helm's role is going to look like. I don't know what Calvin Ridley's role is going to look like. I don't know what Alec Ayamaner. I don't know about the running backs. So there's a lot that we don't know, but I do think we know that Carnell Tate is going to be a featured piece in this offense. And I think 1,000 yards in a 17-game season is more than realistic.
Yeah, I mean, it's doable for sure. To the Gunnar Helm point, I could see Brian Daboll possibly using Helm as, that safety blanket, like, check down, because that's kind of what he was at Texas for Quinn Ewers. Like, that was a safety net receiver. Again, you have a lot of safety nets on this offense. Let's be fair. But for Carnell Tate, you say 1,000, I say 800. In that ballpark range, you can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we meet in the middle and say 900, I think that's fair. Yeah. But I do think that, and again, I'm not trying to put the cart before the horse. I think I said this last week when we talked about his big day at OTAs. Like, it's May. It is so early, and there's so much more that we have to see. There's been plenty of off-season heroes that have faltered in training camp or haven't been able to live up to the hype in the regular season. But you pick this guy 4th overall. I do think him hitting the ground running and showing that he already has some chemistry with Cam Ward, I think he's in for a solid rookie season. And we'll see. Again, staying healthy is the biggest thing. Got to be on the field.
Health as well.
615-737-1025 is the phone number. We got one more hour with you on this Tuesday. Let's talk some college football. The SEC meetings going on down there in the Sunshine State this week. And Greg Sankey spoke yesterday. We'll get into some of his comments and some of the biggest stories going on as college football playoff expansion remains on the table this week. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly, next man up here on 102.5 The Game. Final hour, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly. Broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Talked a lot of Titans in the last hour. We might get back into the Titans. There was a text here that I wanted to get to maybe a little later on in the hour. We did have to reschedule Trey Wallace. He's not able to join us. He's down there in Destin for the SEC meeting, so had something come up. But we've got lots to get into from those meetings. Greg Sankey spoke yesterday, talked about the college football playoff. He said if there's any ability to overhype a spring meeting, the media and the fans have done it. Like somehow they have overhyped a meeting of athletic directors and coaches and presidents. But he talked about the college football playoff. He said that they're not opposed to a 2014 playoff. They just haven't done enough research on it. He made what I thought was a little pointed comment at Tony Petitti of like, I was a little surprised to see that they said they won't do 16 when they were the ones pushing so hard for 16 last year. So we still don't know much about college football playoff expansion, but it does seem like that is going to be one of, if not the main topic of discussion this week.
Yeah, for sure. And I believe it was either today or yesterday he made the quote that says, I don't anticipate any decisions on the college football playoff.
Right.
Just to make it clear so we can tamp down. So and it makes sense. And as to the other comments about just the Big Ten and the SEC, to me, hearing Greg Sankey say how media and fans can kind of hype up the SEC meetings, in this case in Destin, I think there's a true reason why is because the magnifying glass is all on Greg Sankey. You're the one that kind of holds the cards right now of saying yes to expansion or no to expansion. If it's no, stays at 12. If it's yes, there's expansion.
Right. I think it's the SEC, maybe in hindsight, wishes they would have gone first with their spring meetings instead of the Big Ten, because those are the two superpowers that decide what the format is going to look like. And because Tony Petitti got out in front of it and said, nope, we're not doing 16. We're either doing 24 or we're staying at 12. That kind of put all of the onus on Greg Sankey this week of like, all right, well, Petitti said it's 24 or 12. What are we doing? And Greg Sankey, I think, did his best to try and, calm the waters a little bit yesterday. But this isn't going to go away until there's a decision. Brett McMurphy at On3 reported this morning that they polled 14 SEC athletic directors. I guess they couldn't get a hold of 2 of them. 9 of them said that they would prefer more than 16 teams in the college football playoff.
I don't know about that. I was watching, I think Trey actually posted on Twitter about Greg Sankey talking about expansion and saying if we were to expand, there's going to be 2 of the teams in the SEC that are left out. If that is the case, if majority of the teams from the SEC go in, I'd say, I think he said 2 of them, majority would probably be left out. So like you wonder if it's primarily just going to be I thought last Thursday that at some point it's going to turn into a breakaway league.
Eventually,
at
yes.
Some point.
I would not be shocked if 10 years from now, SEC and Big Ten go off and do their own thing. I don't think we're there yet. I think 24 is inevitable. And I've been saying this. I think eventually it's going to get to 24. If it were me, I'd give 12 a shot longer than 2 years. Like, let's just give it 5 years. Sign a 5-year contract, and that can even include the last 2 years. 3 more years at 12 and see if we like it, right? I don't think we can make a firm decision that 12 is not enough after 2 years. Let's give it some time. But I do think eventually it's going to expand. That's with everything, not in just college sports, but in pro sports, right? Like the MLB for years, it was 3 teams and a wild card. It's like, all right, well, let's add a wild card game. Just one extra team, they play one game and the winner moves on to the series. Great. Then it became the wild card series, and we're at 6. I think it eventually keeps going up in baseball. Football's been the same. It was 6 playoff teams in each conference for the longest time. Well, let's add 7. And, well, 8's a more logical number. I think eventually they're going to get to 8. So everything is always going to get bigger. I have no doubt that eventually we will have a 2014 college football playoff. I just think right now is too early, and I'm hoping that Greg Sankey stays firm. I know that, clearly there's a split among what some of these SEC schools want, but I would much rather just see it stay at 12 and learn more about what we like, what we don't like from the 12, instead of just jumping to 24 2 years after tripling the playoff.
Yeah, and to me, I see it from the business side of it is that if you go and expand the playoff this year, I'm pretty sure the TV money is going to be completely different. Whereas you're more than likely going to, I mean, you can't really renegotiate a contract that's already set in stone. The SEC and the ESPN, I think they're on a 10-year, $3 billion media rights agreement, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and he did say that they are committed to the conference championship game. He said that they have contracts, which that is a big sticking point as well. Of if you go to 24, conference championship games probably have to go away or at least be replaced with something else. You know, the Big Ten last year suggested play-in games of the third best team and the sixth best team in a conference play, and the winner gets an automatic bid to the college football playoff, and so on and so forth. Maybe, but as of right now, it seems like the SEC is standing firm on we have a deal to play the conference championship game, and we don't want to go to 24 yet. We'll see if it holds.
Yeah, because we all know that Mercedes-Benz Stadium has been the placeholder of that SEC championship game, and if you were to take that away, you then have to take the regular season SEC champion. And if they're co-champions, I'd wonder if TV rights deal would have, let's say, two A-list studio analysts along with play-by-play analysts on a game in, let's say, Gainesville, Florida, and another one in, just for conversation's sake, Lexington, Kentucky.
Yeah.
And you'd have two different games playing for the SEC championship game, and say one of those or both those teams win, you have co-champions. It'd really be weird.
Well, I wonder if it would, Atlanta would get one of the play-in games. That'd be part of the deal. It's like, all right, you had the SEC championship, you get the play-in game, and maybe they put one closer to the western side, like Louisiana, like put it in New Orleans, or maybe even some years it's in Dallas or something like that, cater to Texas and Oklahoma a little bit more. I don't know how that would all work, but so I understand that they kind of have this on a year by year basis right now. Right. Like it's every year they're reevaluating it and making a decision on how many teams and what the format is. Maybe it would be better if, let's say this year we're staying at 12, and then give yourself a year. You could say right now, we're staying at 12 this year. We're going to go to 24 in 2027, 2028. That we've made that decision. It's going to be 24, but we have a year to figure out the format and what it's going to look like. I hate that it seems like everything's on a deadline right now. It's like, all right, well, we got to go to 24 now, and then we'll figure it out after that. No, stick with 12 now. And even if you want to make the decision to expand next year, give yourself time to sort through what that's going to look like. Will there be conference championship games? Are the first two rounds being played on conference or campus sites? How many teams get automatic bids? Are there any automatic bids in a 2014 playoff? All of that needs to be worked out. And I would rather have the runway to figure it out rather than just be like, all right, well, the TV deadline for us to make a decision is coming up. We got to make this call, and then we'll figure out the rest of it. Give yourself some runway. If you announce expansion, do it for a year or two down the road instead of trying to rush it through and just get it in for 2026.
Yeah, and I would say for the viewers at home that are big college football fans, I think that's what a lot of these big commissioners are worried about, is if they make that statement saying, hey, 2-3 years down the line, we're going to expand it. I think the buildup of the current format loses its value a little bit, to where you won't get the eyes on the television screen for this. Because look, if I'm a fan, I'm thinking 2014 playoff, maybe Mississippi State makes it in the 2014. Yeah. I'm not really invested right now in the 12 team, or if it expands to a 16 team, I'll just wait. And I'm just saying that for example purposes, but I'll probably watch a regular season, watch a bowl game here and there, but then lose the idea of I'm not really going to watch the playoff.
Well, so I was on board with 12 team expansion because I felt like it was too much haves and have-nots in college football. Of you have a handful of teams every year that feel like they can win a national championship. And for a Mississippi State fan or a Virginia Tech fan, it's like, all right, well, even in our best year over the last decade, wouldn't have even come within a puncher's chance of getting into the college football playoff. Now you've opened the door to more teams every single year and more programs to feel like they have a shot at it, which I think is good. 24 is too much.
Yes.
And I think it's going to happen at some point. So whatever, it's just the inevitability of everyone wants to go bigger. I think 12 is good. I would have said, honestly, 8 would have been great. But 12, I think, gets all of these fan bases feeling like they have a shot. And that makes the season more exciting for a lot of these schools that maybe never would have had a chance to play for a national championship in the past. But 24, it's like, all right, is the 24th best team that's 8-4 this season really deserving of a chance to play in this tournament? No, they're not. So I think there needs to be a happy medium instead of just more.
And then also too, you look at it from the group of 5 aspect of it all. Say if there's an 8-4 group of 5 team that is going up against an 8-4 SEC team, you're going to have to get that automatic bid group of 5 team in over an 8-4
Yeah, I
SEC
don't.
team. I'm like, wait a minute, that's not how this is supposed to go.
I would argue if you go to 24, just no auto bids. And I don't know if conferences would agree with that because you want the safety net of if you have a down year that you're at least going to get a team or two in. But if you're letting 24 teams in, if there is not a group of 5 team that is worthy of being a top 24 team in the country, then they don't deserve to be in.
Right.
And this is kind of the argument that Corey and Parker were having of like, do they deserve to be given a spot? Or do they deserve to be blocked out altogether? I say don't give them a spot, but if they earn it, they can have it.
Bingo.
And so that I would say if you go to 24, just get rid of auto bids. There's no point.
I say auto bids stick around for Power 4 schools because of those TV rights deals.
Yeah.
I think because there's too much money involved for like the SEC or the Big Ten, and say SEC has a down year,
Right.
you're out of all this money for TV deals, and you're just thinking, wait a minute, I invested this money into this? Are you kidding me? That's how I would feel.
There's more going on too at SEC meetings of other things they have to talk about. The 9-game conference schedule is in practice for the first time this year. Greg Sankey was asked about possibly moving the season up to week 0. We can talk about that as well. It's going to be a very interesting week down there in Destin as SEC meetings roll along. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'd love to hear from you. Our phone and text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, and Parker Kelly alongside you for a few more segments on your Tuesday morning. Chase and Big Joe are coming up at noon. Going through the big questions that face the SEC this week down in Destin. Of course, college football playoff expansion is the most talked about topic. A couple of coaches have made some comments over the last 15 minutes or so. Trey Wallace, who again can't join us today, we hope to have him in the future, says Kalen DeBoer said, I've heard the arguments from 12, 16, 24. I can make an argument for all of them. To me, it's all about winning games and not put it in the committee's hands. Mike Elko said, I don't know why you guys ask us. It doesn't matter what we think. I don't know why we're trying to become a trophy sport. And that reminded me of the comment Greg Sankey made last night, which was basically he said, I never thought football was a tournament sport. And I agree with that. It's not a tournament sport. It takes so much out of you to play each game. There's so much lead up that needs to go into it. Going to 24 adds an extra round, right? You're now going from 4 rounds of games to 5 rounds of games. And I know that there would be buys in there. The top 8 teams would all get buys. I think if you're going to expand, keep it at 4 rounds. These guys are already playing 12, maybe 13 games if they're playing in an SEC or a conference championship game. It doesn't make sense to me to keep doing this, especially with the timeline that goes into the offseason now, right? The transfer portal is open, but it's open like right as winter classes are opening up. And it's like these guys have to get enrolled in new, like these are student athletes and like they have to be on the timeline of their school as well. Expanding this season further doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
No, it just now, if you're trying to be a true student athlete, you have to make a decision of, well, if I'm playing deep into, the winter months here, like, do I want to opt out and then go play at another school? Or am I going to stick this thing out and possibly lose a year of eligibility?
It's, it has turned into something that I don't know if a lot of people expected it to, but I mean, like there's so much good that has come from NIL and the transfer portal, of course. Like I think you can definitely look and say that there are pros to all of it in terms of the players getting, compensated for their work and their efforts, and allowing these students to do what is best for them. But you also have to have guidelines too. And that's kind of what Greg Sankey said yesterday as well is, there seems to always be with Congress, it's not moving very quickly, trying to get the SCORE Act, which I guess that got tabled. And now there's a new one that's trying to come through to save college sports is what they're talking about. Greg Sankey said last night, we still believe we need national standards. If those can't be achieved, we'll have to look at more conference-led regulation, but that's the reality we're facing. And basically what he's trying to say is there has to be some sort of guidelines and a way to corral everything that's going on in college sports right now. And because there hasn't been any kind of national standard from Congress, you're going to have the SEC making its own rules and the Big Ten making its own rules. And it's all going to lead to maybe an uneven playing field here and there, especially states make their own rules and that can change for everybody. So I think eventually there has to be some sort of congressional action here, but it obviously, as we've seen since the beginning of time, Congress doesn't exactly move very fast.
That's very true. I lean with Greg Sankey when he mentions that because the thing I've harped on, I'd say the last couple months, I'd say maybe even back in December, this has to all get situated off the field. That there has to be some sort of rules and structure before you can go to expand to a 24-team playoff or a 16-team playoff. Greg Sankey's right. We as a society and also college sports have to make sure stuff is set in place. So if they were to add another game or another 3 or 4 games, these players can get compensated correctly, not just, obviously there's an uncapped commission right now with all of NIL and so forth. And I'm not trying to say, hey, you need to cap this at, $5 or $6 million or whatever it may be. But there has to be some form of, hey, enough is enough. We have to set it at this number. Each team gets an allotted amount. It comes to a salary cap, and it just needs to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's
unfortunately
there's a lot going on right now, and we will have to see how it's not going to be a 1-year fix, right? Like this is going to be over the next decade, there's going to be changes that lead to a new era of college football. We're in that transition period right now, and we have been since NIL became legal back in like 2019, 2020, somewhere around there.
Yep.
So I think we're in this decade of transition where we're learning what the new landscape of college sports is going to look like. And these decisions that are being made, even this week down in Destin, are going to have a long-term impact on what these sports look like, not just for football, but for everything. And, I have no idea where it's going to end up. I don't think anybody really does. That's what makes it a little bit concerning, because it's like all these big decisions are being made and you're changing the playoff format every year and you're adding conference games and, the transfer portal is changing every year. It's like, all right, can we come to a decision on a long-term solution instead of changing the rules every single year based on, oh, well, this happened last year, let's change that. Like, let's everybody come together and make some decisions that are going to stand up for the long haul instead of having to be overturned and changed every single year.
Yeah, it's frustrating. And also when it comes to the money aspect of it for the players, we see this in the NFL where like you look at the Super Bowl, for players that played in the game in California, they had to pay a certain tax because of, all the legalities involved with the finances. You wonder what that happens for college players too. So
yeah, that's true.
Say Penn State goes to play at UCLA and there's
right. I don't know. I actually don't know how any of that works.
Yeah.
Because they're not getting game checks, right? So it's like I don't know. That's a good question too.
I wonder if it comes to that at some point.
Right. And there's nobody really responsible for this, right? Like it all kind of just got the floodgates opened up and everybody's trying to handle it. I do think Congress is going to be needed at some point. And I think that's what everybody has said. Is like eventually there needs to be laws that are put in place to give us some regulation and just like a path forward instead of, everything kind of being up in the air. Ben on the text line says, I think they need to move the start of the season up so that the season ends the same time that always did. Yes, I would agree with that. Like move week 0. But Greg Sankey said yesterday, he's like, I have no interest in that. Labor Day has been when college football starts, and that's where it's going to stay.
I mean, the guy is sticking to his guns. Good for him, because he wants structure. He wants some form of direction. And if you stick with the current model, then he's trying to get everything outside of, the game itself situated. So I'm all on Greg Sankey's side with this. And if you're against it, then you just definitely want the product to, I'm not saying be diluted, but you want more action on the TV screen. That's just what the average fan wants. I want structure. I want something to actually come from this, not just, hey, we're possibly going to expand, but we're just going to say no for right now.
Yeah. And it's just like, I know that everybody is doing their best to try and maneuver through this time, whether that's commissioners like Greg Sankey and Tony Petitti and presidents, athletic directors, coaches, like everybody is just trying to wade through the waters right now. Eventually there has to be some sort of standard. And Eli Drinkwitz, I actually just saw this quote that I think is pretty good. He was asked if there are a set of rules that could be created, and Trey Wallace reporting this, that schools will follow pertaining to eligibility, NIL, and others. He says, no, not unless they're enforced and not unless there's a local judge who can overturn it. Like basically what he's saying there is like, unless there is a federal standard, there's never going to be any kind of, standard operating policies for these schools and for the college athletes as a whole. So anyway, it's all a mess. And Destin this week, I know Greg Sankey said it's overhyped, but all eyes are on those SEC meetings to see if there's anything tangible that comes out of this, whether it pertains to college football playoff expansion or college sports as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, look, Greg Sankey, go build a sandcastle for a little bit. Don't get too over hyped with this. Maybe even take a basket weaving class while you're there.
There you go.
I know Steve Sarkisian advocates for that. Take a basket weaving
Hang
class.
out with Paul Feinbaum a little bit.
Yeah.
He's down there on the beach, I think. So, doing his show down there all week.
That'd be fun. And Paul, if you need somebody down there to help you with it, I mean, I'll tell you the best spots to eat.
Is he going to have Joe Rexrode on set with him? I don't know.
Let's hope so.
Last year was great watching him and Paul and Joe just hanging out on the beach together.
Must be nice. I'm looking a little pale, by the way, Joe, so thanks.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. If you want to text or call, we've got a couple more segments here on this Tuesday. We'll take your thoughts on this. And also there was a text about the Titans that I wanted to touch on. So we can do that coming up in these final 30 minutes. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly, next man up, 125 The Game. Next man up, 1025 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly. This is our plea to college football commissioners out there. Let it be.
If you're listening,
let
just
the
let it
playoffs
be.
stand at 12.
Let it be.
So I came up with an idea for an 8-team playoff that obviously will never happen. Can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. But I kind of like it in terms of format, and it takes the there's no more subjectivity to it. So here's my, Parker, I want to get your thoughts on this. My 8-team format. So top 2 teams in the SEC and the Big Ten get automatic bids. The ACC and the Big 12 still play their championship, and the champion gets in. So that's 6 teams. Then the SEC and the Big Ten play a play-in game between the 3rd and 4th best teams in their league to get the final 2 spots. Now, the issue with this is the group of 5 gets kicked out, which I know Parker is behind. But I just
sorry,
love
Corey Curtis, not sorry.
Putting this together. I'm just like, man, I love the idea of taking it out of people's hands. Like I love the NFL because it's wins and losses. You win enough games to get into the playoffs, you get into the playoffs. In college, there's so much subjectivity to it. And the issue with this is you can't create even playing field conference schedules, right? You can't play everybody every year. So it would never happen. But I came up with that idea and I was like, it's never going to happen. But I do like the idea of just getting it out of a committee's hands and just letting the teams play their way in.
I love it. That's what it should be. It's unfortunate that, if you were to go with that model, I feel like that would inevitably lead to a breakaway league, like I was talking about in the break.
Yeah.
It just, you're taking it out of the hands of the NCAA. They lose all their power and you're just doing your own thing. It's NCAA is bye-bye. I mean, it's already there, but
I mean, have any power. Things are still going to get messy because when it was the BCS and it was the computer era,
right?
People complained about that. We want humans in the room. Well, you finally got humans in the room, and now people complain about that.
Right.
So no one's really ever going to be happy. I think when you have a playoff that small, it's harder to guarantee spots to conferences. If they were to expand, I could see them absolutely doing that. There's no putting the toothpaste back in the tube. I wish we could have done 6 or 8. I would have been perfectly content
It's
with
never going to get smaller. We know that. So it's kind of a waste of time to talk about, but I'm just like,
Not really.
I get what Parker's saying of like, there's just no perfect way to do it because it's not the NFL where the NFL has a formula to put together your schedule. And it's like, yeah, maybe there's a slight difference in a couple of your games. And, last year the Patriots played a super easy schedule. It happens, but there's rules and structure to it of like, if you have a better record, you get in. And college football, because there's no structure and there's so much difference in the schedules that these teams are playing, you just never get an actual like easy way to decide who's the best team.
Yeah, it is tough. And like looking at the NFL, they have their formulas because you have your AFC Souths, your AFC Norths,
right?
And like if you have the best division record,
and they do the rotations and all that kind of stuff.
If only there was a way college football could do that. And I know it's kind of maybe trending in that direction at some point if you do a 2014 playoff. But I would just like to see more of the wins and losses instead of the eye test. I had this conversation with somebody Saturday night. I'm sick of the eye test. The eye test has no value at all. The eye test is TV money. It's LSU Ole Miss in week 2. Like that is going to bring so much of an eye test for LSU. Fantastic. That shouldn't have any value towards the playoff. It should have no value towards
100%.
I'm sick of it.
What even is the eye test? That's such a generic term. What is it?
The eye test is the way that the committee can get away with ignoring teams' resumes. Like that's
Notre Dame.
I don't care about my own personal eye test. Why would I care about what anybody else has to say? Because there's so much bias involved inherently.
Well, that's what we talked about with Vanderbilt last year. If I looked at blind resumes of Vanderbilt's wins and stack them, wins and losses, and stack them against Notre Dame and Miami, I think there's an argument to be made that Vanderbilt's resume was better than the other two. Notre Dame had more quality losses than Vanderbilt did, but they didn't have as many quality wins. I would not say, I think Vanderbilt won better games than Notre Dame did. With Miami, it was the opposite. Miami had more quality wins than Vanderbilt did. But their losses were Louisville and not SMU. Who is their other loss, Parker? Miami, Louisville and
Louisville and SMU.
It was SMU. Louisville and SMU. Vanderbilt lost to Alabama and Texas, both on the road. I would say Vanderbilt would have had an argument there, but the committee basically was like, the eye test, where we think Miami and Notre Dame, we've watched them play, we think they're better teams. It's like, well, that's just your opinion, man. It's like, I don't want that in the room. I want you to look and see, all right, this team's resume is, and you do have to take into account how the games were played. Like Notre Dame last year, they lost to Texas A&M because of missed extra point, right?
Yeah, it was
so
overtime game, right? No, it came down to the wire.
It came down to the wire, and and A&M went down the field and scored.
That's right.
And was able to win because Notre Dame missed an extra point.
Yep.
Like that, yeah, sure, that has to be taken into account. But I agree with you that like using the eye test is this like all like, oh well, the eye test. It's an excuse for them to put the teams in that they want to put in.
Yeah, and also to the eye test point, like bring back the BCS model for just one of those little bullet point options.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's the end all be all, but use it as a little bit of like, hey, this is a metric we can add to the eye test if you want to keep the eye test around.
Well, yeah, but it's a slippery slope because like look
Sure.
at college baseball and the RPI. That like everybody knows the RPI is a flawed tool, but they still use it. And like Kentucky, sorry, Connor, if you're listening, Kentucky probably didn't deserve to get into the NCAA tournament this year. They won 2 SEC series, but their RPI was good. Their RPI was solid. So they got in. And it's like, if you introduce one of those computer models to it, and it's like, that's just going to become another like data point that really doesn't matter. And it's going to be a flawed system because there's no way to put a football team into a computer and tell me who's going to be the better team. Right.
Yeah, it's true. I just would like to see if you're going to keep the college football playoff committee around, don't rank teams until like week 8 or like week 9.
Honestly, I would say they should do the college football playoff rankings like they do the bracket reveal for NCAA basketball, where you do a little check-in once before. So like, let's say November 1st, somewhere around there, you have the committee come up and say, these would be our top 6 teams if the season ended right now, right? Like the basketball committee does their top 16 twice. And then don't release anything else until you release the bracket, because the committee backs themselves into corners with these things and they have to justify the moves that they make. Like, and I think that ruins it of like, oh, well, we had Notre Dame and Miami above Vanderbilt. And it's like, even if we reevaluate their resumes, we don't have a way to justify making that flip. And so last year they sounded stupid with Notre Dame and Miami, we haven't compared them in the same pool, but if we did, head-to-head would matter. It's like they are 3 spots away from each other.
Yeah.
Like, look at it, the resume. If head-to-head matters, then flip them. If it doesn't, then leave it. And then they flipped them at the last second and said, well, they finally got close enough that we could put the head-to-head. It's stupid. Don't release the rankings. I think that is a very good point from you as well. I don't care how many teams there are. If it's 12, it's 16, it's 24, no matter what, stop with the weekly releases of the rankings. Let the AP poll keep coming out. You can maybe do one check-in in November and then release the bracket, because all it does is back the committee into a corner.
Yeah, it dilutes the product. Like we talk about with, getting into the playoff committee itself or just the playoff itself, it's not based off wins or losses. So if you don't start ranking until like week 8, week 9, or even November 1st in that situation, then yeah, that brings more of a, I'm intrigued now. I actually want to know what this is, instead of you're playing meaningless games at the beginning of the season. Yeah. That's what it feels like.
Yeah. Ben says, I do think there would be negative consequences to having it all hidden in shadow until the last minute also, though. And that's why I'm saying you could do one check-in, but don't do it the week before. Because like when they did it the week of heading into conference championship week, it's like, all right, well, nothing can change, right? Like, yeah, sure, Alabama had to play, but they've already said that they're not going to punish for conference championship losses. So it was like, you kind of knew the bracket the week before. Like, I would say, sure, have a check-in where you can kind of see where they are. And maybe you do a top 12 and say, if the season ended today, these would be the teams that are in. But I don't think we need these weekly 25 team rankings every single week that just add these things that the committee has to justify to everyone, instead of actually just picking the right teams, instead of having to like, oh, well, we can't move Vanderbilt up now. We've had them behind Miami and Notre Dame the entire time. Not saying that they would have done that, but it's like you make yourself not able to change things because everybody has seen your previous rankings.
Yeah, you're putting a roadblock right in front of them. When
right.
Obviously Vanderbilt last year was, let's be honest, if we were going off the eye test, they were one of the more eye test darlings in that top 25.
Yeah, and I'm just using Vanderbilt as an example of a team that was kind of shoved to the back of that line of that logjam of teams trying to get in at the very beginning of the rankings. And it felt like they just had no opportunity to move up, right? Like no matter what they did, the committee was standing firm on you're behind Miami and Notre Dame, no matter what. And it's like, if you didn't have those rankings, you could have made a more objective decision at the end of the season based on the full picture instead of, well, they've been behind them the whole time and Miami and Notre Dame didn't lose. So I guess there you go. They have to stay there.
Yeah, and another thing, looking at the top 25 or even the top 15, top 10 in this case, say a team in the Big Ten, I don't know, I have to go back and look at the top 10 last year, but let's say one of those teams is not a automatic bid per se through the Big Ten, but yet the conference or the committee can kind of help out with that by them ranking them in the top 10.
Yeah.
Like that's what bothers me a little bit.
There's a lot to figure out. And of course, first one is how many teams are going to be in, right? And so we will have to see what comes out of the SEC meetings. Greg Sankey said yesterday he does not anticipate there being a decision, but they do have to come to one somewhat soon. 615-737-1025. We got one more segment left on this Tuesday. We'll wrap up the show after this. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly with you. Finishing up our show on this Tuesday. Chase and Big Joe are coming up right after us. Tomorrow, I believe, haven't been told otherwise, Corey Curtis will be back in studio.
Oh, my goodness.
We are excited. I have not been in studio with Corey since the first week of May. So it's been a few weeks, so I'm excited.
Wow.
I'm excited. We'll have Corey in studio. Parker, have you gotten your lightsaber for your duel with Corey?
Not 12. No, I've never owned a lightsaber.
See, I did when I was a kid. I had like the little ones that like you flicked and it folded out, and then you had to like click the light on. Not like the like super advanced ones that
$2,000
right,
ones?
like the ones that actually look kind of real. Like obviously they're not real, but like where it's the light that like shoots up. It was the ones that like you had to flick out, and like it had like the kind of like a nesting doll type of thing where it's like the piece of plastic fit into it. It was
still pretty cool.
Yeah, that was
took what, AA batteries?
Yeah,
right?
I fully expect him to walk in here like looking like a Jedi and like a real lightsaber that he probably got at Disney World. I fully expect it.
Like Anakin walking into the Jedi temple.
Yeah.
Master Skywalker, there's too many of them.
You said the last time you saw him was May?
Well, we're still in May, like a couple weeks ago, because I was out for a week, and then he's been on Zoom last week. So, you know, I'm excited to see Corey.
I'm looking at the Cubs schedule right now, going back to like May 9th. This team
Have they been playing well?
No, they only
they've
only won 2 games.
9-game losing streak, Jake. It's bad.
Oh, well, the Tigers, baseball season's over for me. The Tigers are so bad. They play the Angels for the right to be the second worst team in the AL tonight.
Sorry.
It's okay. Your Cardinals are killing it.
Hey, I was just reading about Ken Rosenthal saying they might be adding at the deadline. And again, that's all they need. They need a relief pitcher and maybe a closer.
Again, I will offer you Kenley Jansen.
Gladly decline.
Yeah, you know, and right now for me, what I want for the Tigers is Tarek Skubal to come back, have a few healthy starts, and you cash in on whatever you can get for him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's where you are at this point in the season. They're 12 games under 500. I just don't see them digging out of it. Get what you can for Tarek before Scott Boras gives him to the highest bidder.
And to be honest, looking at Framber Valdez, he's not what everybody thought he would be.
Yeah, he struggled.
Complete opposite.
Flaherty's been horrible. Casey Mize has been the bright spot in the pitching staff.
That was a guy last year that struggled.
Yeah. So who knows? I hate it too, because I love having a baseball team that's entertaining to watch during the summer. Like I love being able to, on a random June night, it's like I've got 3 hours of entertainment for me. And they've just been so bad and so injured. It's like I'm not compelled to turn the TV on anymore.
Tarps off, Jake Lyman. Come on to
That's true, Dewey.
Yeah.
The tarps off terrace.
Yeah, man. I love it. Ollie Marmol's bought tickets for that section the rest of the season for those college kids.
It's
fantastic.
God, who hit the home run, the walk-off last week? I saw that video. One of my friends showed me that video.
Ivan Herrera.
Yeah, Herrera hit the home run, and they panned, and it looked like an SEC student section up there with the guys with the waving their shirts over their heads. That was awesome.
They do everything. They do the Texas A&M like ball 5 chant. They do the chop chant from Atlanta. They chanted the Zombie Nation chant. You know, we hear it at football games. It's a college atmosphere. And again, it's what I think all of Major League Baseball is adopting it. But like, that's kind of what Old Busch Stadium used to be like. Just packed, people with their shirts off, enjoying the game. I'd say attendance is up for the most part. So
I will say, like, I think so. Football, of course, noise, fan involvement plays a big role, but it's more of just like an accumulation of noise on top of you that makes a difference, right? Like,
right.
But baseball, especially, I know this is obviously MLB and like they're not hearing everything those guys are saying all the time, but especially like college baseball, if you can get a good student section out there to just chirp the opposing team, it makes an impact. You can get in guys' heads. Like, not saying it's right, but like, you know, 19-year-old kids, a lot of these student sections, I saw it firsthand. I did not participate. They like look up these guys like moms and girlfriends and like chant their name while they're at the plate. Like the college student sections, I think in baseball is where you can have the most impact because they can hear you. Like it, and they're up there all by themselves,
and
right?
feed you too.
Right.
Prime example at Mississippi State at the Dude, they feed you in right field, and it's hilarious because I've witnessed it firsthand. There've been brisket sandwiches, there've been brats, there's been burgers, and the right fielders in some cases they're playing a little slow.
Right, I'm just saying. I think the like baseball fan involvement, I think, can make a bigger impact. Like my favorite fan participation, at least over the last like 10 to 15 years in baseball, was the Pirates crowd chanting Cueto, Cueto during the wild card game. And he just was so rattled. He could not find the strike zone. So anyway, long tangent there to say I love the tarps off terrace.
And I just hope baseball doesn't stop because it's in such a great position right now.
I think baseball has made a lot of strides the last couple of years with not just the rule changes, but I think they're starting to appeal to the younger audience again. So I love it.
It's coming back.
I just wish the Tigers were better. Me and Joe Rexroad and Derek Mason in for a long summer.
You're more than welcome to hop on the Busch Stadium train.
I will be seeing the Tigers in July.
Yeah.
They'll be coming to Wrigley.
Cubs, Tigers.
I'll be there.
There you go.
Who knows where the Cubs will be by then?
$5 ticket. Get it ready.
See, that is also a good thing. Seeing a bad baseball team, it's cheap. It's relatively cheap.
You got 4 rows off the field behind home plate last year.
$12.
$37 for 4 tickets.
My God.
Yeah. Cardinals were really bad last year. Saw a walk-off homer. It was great. It was a game Wilson Contreras got thrown out and threw all the bubble gum.
Oh, yeah.
I was at that game. Yeah.
That's awesome. Anyway, I had the one text about the offensive line that I wanted to get to. We didn't do that. We'll get into that with Corey tomorrow, more about the offensive line, because there was a comment from Peter Skoronsky that's made the rounds that I wanted to get into. So we'll do that tomorrow. Corey Curtis in with us live in studio. Dr. Crane, always great having you.
Thank you for having me, man.
That does it for us. Chase and Big Joe are coming up next. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to 102.5 The Game.